Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
When it comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
I need to talk a little sports with you, Ags. David Nuño here with TexAgs Radio. Billy Lucci here on TexAgs Radio. Olin Buchanan.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
Do you realize everybody knows who you are right now?
I think we're coming into this year with a new confidence.
Schools are like, we're freaking Texas A&M, man. Like,
that's about as pretty a throw-catch combo as there is.
I saw the safety roll, the slot fade. I knew where I needed to put the ball.
You had no other option but one hand at that point.
Yeah, man, 50-50 ball, I got to come down with it.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Welcome in, TexAgs Radio, here on a Thursday, February 8th, episode 3,221 of this fine program. Nick Savage here, starting the show off for you. David, just a little behind. He's dealing with a dad situation. Everything's good with him, so he'll be in studio when he can get here. But as always, in studio, starting off the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, the one and only Olin Buchanan. Olin, good morning.
Good morning. You know, I'm actually kind of amazed that David doesn't have more days where he can't get to the office right at showtime, because he has 4 kids.
Yeah.
You know, having 4, I mean, that's 4 times as many tribulations as I've had to deal with. So there's always something that comes up.
Yeah.
And so I think he should be applauded that, but by not being here this to start, he'll be here later. It just reminds us how amazing it is that he can get here almost every day.
No kidding. Yeah, him and Elizabeth. I used to work with her when I was coaching at Orange Theory, and I'm sure today is one of those days.
Wait. You coached at Orange Theory?
Yeah, we've talked about this, OB.
Really, I probably was.
It's okay, but
not paying attention.
The earliest class there was 5 a.m., so I'm assuming she's probably there coaching this morning.
Yeah.
So that's probably why David's taking care of it. But anyways.
Don't you ride a lot of bikes or something at Orange Theory?
You row, you run. There is a bike, and then you do like lifting in the weight room.
Oh, so there's a whole lot more to it.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a fun class. So
if I went to work out there, would I lose weight, theoretically?
Orange, theoretically, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Well, they're getting a lot of free advertising. But anyways, moving on here. OB, big win. I don't know if you call it a big win,
yes.
But they took care of business.
Every win
for
Texas A&M is a big win.
Absolutely. So they win that one 79-60 on the road. Just your initial thoughts on what you saw.
What's the stat now? 11-1 since he's been here. When Boots Radford scores 20 points, they didn't have to rely solely on Wade Taylor again. That's a really a blessing. Jace Carter comes in there and scored 12, but you know who was the guy last night? I mean, but besides Boots was Andy Garcia. Oh my gosh, he had 11 rebounds at halftime. I mean, that's a game's worth. He had 11 at halftime, 16. He finished with 5 assists. He had a couple of block shots, and he only scored 7 points only, right? But so I think it was just a really good game. They did some things that were frustrating. They fell in every now and then in some of their old habits. And I think about 8 minutes to go in the first half, they're down 23-22, and then they go on a long run. I can't remember what it was, maybe 14-0, 16-0, and are in control, you think. And then Missouri comes out in the second half, just starts hitting three-pointers and controlling play, and they get back within 3. And then A&M says, okay, enough of this, and just runs away with it and comfortable win. And like I said, at this point in the season, every win is huge for A&M because they're trying to get in the NCAA tournament. And I don't know if a win over Missouri gets you in the NCAA tournament, but a loss to Missouri knocks you out probably.
Yeah.
And, it's on the road, so there was a little concern there. But, they did what they had to do, and they did it in dominant fashion.
Yeah, and I think, like you mentioned, it's might not improve their chances greatly with a win, but their net ranking did rise just a tad bit with all the games going on throughout. We'll put that up here in a second. But to me, OB, just looking at the box score, they doubled Mizzou up in rebounds, 40-22. So, that's they touched on it a lot on the broadcast. Tom Hart did that's kind of where the game was won and lost big time.
Right. Well, A&M leads the SEC in rebounding, and if I'm not mistaken, Missouri's last in the SEC in rebounding. If not last, they're near the bottom. So they knew they'd have an advantage there, and they capitalized on it, which is what you're supposed to do. Now, again, what A&M has to do next, hopefully they can beat Tennessee, and if they do that, then you're thinking they're in the tournament. It's just a matter of making sure you don't do something to knock yourself out.
Yep.
But win the games you're supposed to win from now on. And I would say those games are you got Vanderbilt coming up. You got Arkansas here coming up. I would think you're probably supposed to beat Georgia, even on the road. You're probably supposed to beat Mississippi State here, and I think they can beat Ole Miss. I think they let that one get away from them here. So win those games and then see if you can't, pull off another upset, one of the other ones, and you'll be in. I think they hit. The reason why that Missouri game was so big and every win is so big, I think they need to get to 10-8 to be confident. 10-8 in the SEC to be confident that they'll get into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, and they got 9 games to win the rest of those 5 that you're looking for there. But according to Luke Evangelist behind me, I was talking to him early this morning. I was like, how much does this win actually put you, give you confidence that they got it figured out? And he pointed out to me that there's a certain Twitter video that came out beforehand that involved drums. And if you remember last year, Tyrese Boots Radford played In the Air Tonight.
Yeah, he had a drum solo.
On the drums. So we'll play it real quick, and then we'll talk about it. So that's Wildens Levesque. He's got a little groove, doesn't he, OB?
Yeah. But why do you have to wear sunglasses to play the drums?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have to wear sunglasses? Look,
did you know
I'll
I play
say
drums,
this.
OB, and that's not a lie?
Play the drums and let Anderson Garcia dance before every game if he's going to play like that.
Yeah.
And actually, Wildens had a big shot. Wildens doesn't score a lot, but he had a big shot at a time when, obviously when you look at it at the end, they won by 19. But at the time he made that shot, it seemed like either they were behind or they were trying to hold off Missouri. I'd have to go back and find my notes. But I remember thinking, you don't usually get a lot of scoring from Wildens, but that was a big shot.
Yeah, 100%. This is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. Nick Savage here holding down the fort until David Nuño rolls in. He's just a little bit behind dealing with some dad duties. But let's go around the room and say hello to the people. Callie Gardner is at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Aggies gather at the Angry Elephant. Callie, what'd you think of last night's game? What do you have for us?
I was impressed. I thought, there were moments that were really promising. I thought we started strong and I thought we finished strong. So that was promising for sure. We currently rank first in total offensive rebounds as well as offensive rebounds per game, which is awesome. I was looking at Tennessee's stats and coming in, they're not, statistic-wise, they're not at the top of much, but they're across the board like 5th or 6th in every single statistic. So they're not bad at anything. So we kind of have to fire on all fronts to beat Tennessee this weekend. So we're excited to host them in Reed Arena. That should be an awesome game. Last year's Tennessee game was super fun, so hopefully we can show up for the team again this year. Yesterday was a big day in Aggie land. Men's basketball won and was signing day, so we had a lot going on. That signing class proved to be super awesome, so hopefully we see some outstanding things on the field next year. Last night's win was the largest margin of victory in the SEC play for the Aggies. We won by 19, so that was a pretty statement win over the Tigers in Missouri. Our women's basketball team takes on Ole Miss tonight at 6:30 in Oxford, so hopefully they can bust out a win for Joni Taylor. Our women's tennis team plays Texas tomorrow up in Seattle at 8:30, so hopefully they can take down the Longhorns. And softball kicks off their season tomorrow with games against Valpo and Lehigh. So go out and show your support for Trisha Ford in her second season with the Aggies.
100%. Thank you, Callie. I'll try to wait. I think I'm going to make my way out to Davis Diamond to check that out. But lots to unpack there, OB. She mentioned the Tennessee game. I'll wait till David gets here. We'll break around 8:20, and he should be here for the second segment. He's texting me right now. So we'll start, I guess, with the Tennessee game, and I'll let y'all break down Ashton Bethel Roman as he announced he was signing with A&M a little bit after the show ended yesterday. So a lot to unpack there. Like she said, great day to be an Aggie, lots of pickups. But Tennessee game coming up Saturday. Dalton Connect, man, that guy is crazy. And apparently came out of nowhere, right? He was like second team all-conference in some Mid-American conference last year. And now he's just tearing it up at Tennessee, averaging 20.2 points per game, which is 28th in the country. So big challenge coming in here to Reed Arena.
I'm not sure that Tennessee's not the best team in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned him. Of course, they still have Vescovi. And, last year, if my memory's not failing me, did Zakai Ziegler play against the Aggies last year? Seems like he might have been out.
Luke says yes, he did.
Yeah, he did play?
Yes.
Okay. Well, again, it seemed like they had somebody that was very key to their team that didn't play. They got the JJJ, Josiah, Jordan James, and some big guys. So, I mean, they're a really good basketball team. So if you can go out and beat them again like you did last year, that should be one of those deals where then you start not just playing to be in the NCAA tournament, you start playing for seeding the rest of the way. Huge game, huge opportunity, but you're going to have to earn it because, well, they're going to remember losing it at Reed last year too.
Yep.
And they're in the what are they? Are they like a game behind the leaders in the the SEC race? So they're thinking championship. So A&M's going to have to play the best, half a game behind. They're going to have to play their absolute best basketball to beat Tennessee. Tennessee's really, really good.
100%. And, I remember earlier on in the season with Tennessee, they were playing such a heavy schedule, I guess, if you want to say. They had number 2 Purdue, Kansas, North Carolina. They lost to all 3 of them. But after that, they just hit a groove and have only lost 2 games since then. So they're firing on all cylinders. And, just kind of going off of what the broadcast was saying last night, they are a big team. I'm looking at their roster, 6'11", 6'8", 6'9", 6'11". So how much of a problem do you think that will be?
It's a problem. It's a problem because A&M typically has some issues with size. They beat Florida, but Florida's size gave them some trouble. How many block shots did they have and things like that. But quite frankly, I think Tennessee's big guys maybe are better than Florida. So, but you know what? It's not supposed to be easy. And if you want to be a team that's championship contenders, championship caliber, you go out and you beat other teams that are championship caliber. And Tennessee's definitely championship caliber. I do believe A&M's capable of winning that game. I mean, we've seen them be right there with Florida Atlantic. We've seen them be right there with with Houston. We've seen them beat Kentucky. We've seen them beat Iowa State. So if they're just playing at a high level, their highest level, and they're, you know what, A&M's starting to shoot better too, and so that gives you some encouragement. But if they play at a high level, they absolutely have an opportunity to win that game.
And I would say, I think, at least based off the last 2 games, this is the best Boots has looked, no doubt, all
without
year.
a doubt, yeah.
You know,
Well,
Wade's Wade.
Gotten healthy again.
Yep, exactly.
Back-to-back 20-point outings. And, again, taking that pressure off Wade. And Anderson Garcia just plays great all the time, doing all those little things that add up to big things. And you're starting to see Jace Carter start.
He had a good game.
He's coming around. So if they can continue this upward trajectory up and down the lineup, then I think they'll go in there with absolutely a reasonable chance to win that game. Again, if you can knock off Tennessee again, you'll be in the NCAA tournament unless you have a collapse.
Yeah, I don't know how much stock you want to put in this, but the ESPN matchup predictor gives Tennessee a 59% chance to win, A&M a 41% chance. No line on the game.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah. So no line on the game just yet, but that's one. A&M would be awesome if they can get it. They'll definitely have home court advantage. Luke, is it like do they know if is it a blackout, a white out, a maroon out yet? Probably just a normal game. So we know the Reed Rowdies will show up in force. But little preview of what's on today's show is Nick Savage here starting off the show for David. He'll be here next segment dealing with some dad duties. At 8:35, we'll have Stephen McGee join us to talk about everything college football. Sure, buy, sell, lease, something like that David has cooked up for him. At 9 o'clock, Gerrod Chadwell and Jennie Park in studio. Talk a little Aggie women's golf as they kick off their season. 9:35, Aaron Torres of Fox Sports Radio will be on the phone. We'll go around college football and basketball with him. 9:50, Caitlin Torn will have Around the SEC with us. Logan Lee at 10 o'clock in studio. As of now, I might have to call him. We'll see. Brian Kortan, 10:20, knocking out all the golf here today. And 10:35, we'll have the fan show with Kelly Adams and Matt Browning. So looking forward to all that. David wanted a sound to be played here. This is Buzz Williams on Anderson Garcia post-game last night. Let's just listen into that real quick, and we'll get your reaction afterwards, OB.
Well, I just think first he plays really, really hard, and he just has an innate sense that can't be coached on the rise of the shot, regardless of who shot the ball, us or the opponent. Just has an innate sense and a nose for the ball, and he's really hard to take off the floor. Plays with great physicality, regardless of who he's matched up with. And he's just very creative in ways that you can't hardly articulate at finding the next right spot on where the ball's going to go.
Innate sense for the basketball, OB, and I think that showed pretty well last night.
Yeah, it does. He's kind of like in a different position, of course, but he has instincts that reminds me of the way Alex Caruso had instincts. Now, Alex Caruso's instincts typically turned into assists and steals, right?
Yep.
Anderson Garcia's instincts, sometimes they turn into steals. We've seen him make big plays, but it's more like keeping, getting the rebound or keeping a play going or getting a steal or just being at the right place. He's not drawing charges like he did last year, but that's because of the rule change. But, have they ever had anybody better at drawing charges? So he just, like I said earlier, he does all the little things and they add up to big things. And you can't – I think he's the best thing that's ever came out of the state of Mississippi. I know he did it through the Dominican Republic. But they got to be in Starkville like kicking themselves. How did we ever let this guy transfer out? Because – you can hate the transfer portal if you want to, But then you get a guy like Anderson Garcia come here, and where would they be without him?
Yeah.
So you can love it too. And when we're talking about Anderson Garcia, I love it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Luke will probably chime in on this, I think he might still have another year of eligibility left. So we'll have a long time to keep celebrating the play of Anderson Garcia.
Yeah, Luke says he thinks he does. So, yeah, should have another year of Andy if all goes well. And, you know, would you say yesterday was his best game of the season? Luke pointed out he had like a 19 rebound game earlier, but it was against lesser competition. So
maybe. I mean, I wouldn't say no, but I'd have to go back. But the thing is, he's so good in so many ways that that might be the best. But you said the competition. I mean, we're talking about the team that's now 0-10 in the SEC. And I don't mean to take that away from him, because you know what? If it wasn't for what Anderson did last night, Missouri would probably be 1-9.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Anderson, I'm so impressed with him. Everybody is. And, you know, such a really nice guy. And they talk about that all the time. And we all love nice guys as long as they're good players. So Anderson's checking both of those boxes.
Yeah, 100%. Callie Garner at the Angry Elephant News and Social Centers. Any text messages before we hit a break and get David in there and the proper go hour can start?
I haven't seen any come through, but I will let you know if I do.
All righty then. Well, thank you there, Callie. And OB, I guess we'll hit a break here, and hopefully David will be in there on the other side. If not, he'll roll in, and we'll take it from there. So I wouldn't. Oh, speak of the devil, there he is. We'll hit a break here and let David get settled. I will not even attempt to do the Fargo spot.
Well, you did once before.
Well, yeah, but I could never imitate David. So we'll hit a break here on the other side. David Nuño takes over. This is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner Schulers.
The hits keep on coming, OB. Welcome into TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan. I am 25 minutes late, and it's all my fault, to be very honest with you. So Annalise this morning, Annalise has been battling a cold, something. Am I allowed to tell the world? She's here with us right now. She got better yesterday, good enough that she was able to participate in some athletics, right? She was no more fever this morning, no fever. Things are going great. We're about to leave for school, and a nosebleed starts. And not just a nosebleed, the mother of nosebleeds that I've been around. The kind that went on for 35 minutes, the kind with black-looking blood, okay? Where her ears were hurting, and we got scared. We thought we were going to have to go to the emergency room. Luckily, my mother-in-law is a nurse. She gave us some techniques, one which is definitely witchcraft, but it worked, okay? A cold key on the back of your neck apparently works.
A cold key?
A cold.
Cold?
Cold, yeah. Not a gold, but it can be gold, but cold. And apparently but it was all part of the solutions. But it was a scary little bit because she was like, it won't stop, Dad. My ears are hurting. But it's my fault, OB.
Why?
Because on, I think, Sunday, we bragged as a family about we don't get sick, okay? I've missed this show once because of illness, and I wasn't sick. I wasn't too sick to do the show. I don't know if you remember. It was year one. I lost my voice. So Richard, I set up the show completely, and just Richard did it, right? Like it was a day but I was still working. I just couldn't talk.
Okay.
All right, that's it. And we were bragging, like, we don't get sick. Everybody else gets sick, right? Ha-ha. You guys get sick. I don't. Well, now we got sick. And so that's my fault. But it's been a hectic 2 months for the Nuños. We lost our dog in December. My mom goes to the hospital for a week. My dad goes to a hospital for 3 weeks. And now, the nosebleed, which is nothing, but it was scary for a while.
Well, it is something because every parent that's hearing me talk right now, they can relate. They can relate to you, because we've all, whether it be a nosebleed. One time my son reached down to pick up something and he bashed his head against a barbell and blood. So we all have to deal with things that come up, and that's just part of being, times. That's just part of being a parent.
Well, and we won't spend too much time on this. I'll just leave it this. This came up in a conversation yesterday. I was talking to Jackson Rollo, name drop, and how this is before this happened with Annalise, how much I love working at TexAgs because of the ability that family does come first here, right? Mm-hmm. And it's not just a slogan, it's a fact. And I'm not going to say where I worked, but there was a prior job that I had that someone very special to our family and my wife's family passed away, where I could not go to the funeral of somebody related to me because nobody would pick up my shift at one of my jobs. I'm not saying which one. Could have been many years ago, could have been a couple years ago. Yeah. And I've never forgotten about that. So being able to work here where they get it and our listeners get it, or we're all family, it's great. All right, enough about me. Can we talk? I know you and Nick did a great job, but can we talk about the Texas A&M basketball team that I am not going to read too much into a victory over Missouri, but what I will read into is 4 out of 5 wins, and when they clamp down defensively, they clamped down defensively a couple of different times to basically suffocate the Tigers last night.
They really did. Missouri's whole offense seemed like it was really dependent on the three-point shot. Mm-hmm. And I think they had 4 3-pointers by not too late in the first half. They only got 3 in the second half, and I think a couple of them were right away.
Yep.
And then A&M adjusted, and when Missouri couldn't hit a lot of 3-pointers, I think they ended up finished with 7, if I'm not mistaken. Their offense went with them. And then if they missed, A&M was rebounding it. A&M was forcing turnovers and turning them into points. It was a really good, strong defensive effort.
Yep. Anderson Garcia, what did he have in the first half? 11?
11 rebounds in the first half.
That dude has been phenomenal, like legit phenomenal.
He really has. And, it's one of those things that so many people just look at points.
Yep.
But if you'll look at the whole thing, and you see that he had about 16 rebounds. I think he had 5 assists. He might have had 2 block shots, maybe 3, some steals. The guy just does so much that sometimes getting ignored. I still remember last year that win over Alabama, and A&M looks like they had this tenuous lead, and I think they had just missed a shot in the last minute. and Alabama's, they're thinking, okay, we're going to come down here and go score and pull this one out. And the guy's making a pass, and here comes Anderson Garcia out of nowhere and intercepts it, and A&M wins. And that's just the kind of things he does.
That's who he is. What is that noise?
I don't know.
Did you hear that?
I did.
It's Callie's fault. Anyway, I'm not going to read too much into it, but now they're doing what they're expected to do. They just need to continue doing what they look. I'd love to say that they're going to beat Tennessee on Saturday. I'd love to say that, right? We'll see. Because for some reason this team does show up in the big games. So let's see what happens against Tennessee. I was much more scared, and scared's not the right word, but I was much more intimidated by Kentucky at the time because of the way Kentucky was scoring and how A&M was not scoring. I was intimidated by U of H because of their pedigree and their great defense, and that was a game that A&M could have had. Ole Miss, that got away from you, right? And that's unfortunate. But all that being said, I feel much better about the trajectory because of what I've seen over the last 5 games defensively.
Yeah, and they're starting to make some shots. Not three-pointers. They're still but they're taking fewer of those three-point shots. But last night, they shot 47.6% against Missouri. And for A&M, that's a good percentage, really good. And they made almost 80% at the free throw line. Another thing A&M needs to do. So they're doing what they need to do. They're getting to the line. They're making their shots now. At least they did in that game. They're playing good defense. They're getting rebounds.
I'm going to read one text.
All right, let's hear it.
I know David in Temple, super nice guy,
right.
Great guy. This particular text, I hope he's joking. I think he is, but I hope he's joking. I agree, your daughter's sickness is your fault. As a father, you must protect your family. It's your job. And you gloat about your family not getting ill? Really? Ha, one job.
I think he's joking with you.
He best. Elizabeth knows what's up. His Elizabeth.
No, yeah, he's joking with you.
Yeah. By gloating, my wife and I were having a conversation like, we really don't get sick that often. We don't. That's a fact. How many times you missed school because of sickness? Once over the last 5 years? Yeah. It is what it is. But, so it is my fault, but it's not Dave. Anyway, let's hit a break because Stephen McGee's going to join us.
It's probably his fault.
It ain't my fault. Silk the Shocker. You probably don't know any about that, do you?
No.
Somebody's going to text the show and be like, I know what you're talking about. Most of you won't. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with Stephen McGee here. Right now, we're talking about our friends there at QC Kinetics, and they are so good there at QC Kinetics. If you're sick and tired of achy joints, dread the idea of surgery, you need to call QC Kinetics today because nobody wants to live their life feeling like that. The state of healthcare is always changing. The old ideas are no longer really the only way to go about it. If you're thinking about steroids, if you're thinking about surgery, that's not your only options anymore because of regenerative medicine, and QC Kinetics will do that by transforming lives with innovative, non-surgical ways during drug-free treatments that deliver lasting results. All right, knee pain, that's not good. Back pain, that's not good. Shoulder pain, obviously, if you got arthritis or injury, don't let that pain keep you from the life that you want to live out there. QC Kinetics, advanced state-of-the-art treatments, harness and direct your body's natural ability to restore and repair that damaged tissue. It's a revolutionary approach that can get you long-term relief. And again, they're going to do it without steroids out there. Make 2024 the year that you reclaim your mobility, reclaim your independence, walk and run and play and live the life that you want to live without the trauma of surgery and without harmful drugs. Call QC Kinetics right now for a free consultation. Their number, 979-452-6000. 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics. That's 979-452-6000. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations Maroon. Never looked so good with Maroon U. I'm David Nuño. He's Olin Buchanan, and we go to the Brian Foley Law Hotline, where we find Stephen McGee, our QB1 from Paragon Financial. Esteban, what's up, buddy?
Hey, good morning, fellas.
What's going on with you?
Another day in paradise.
Another day in paradise. Hey, I don't know how much you follow recruiting, but just overall, what you've been able to read, see, Aggies get Terry Bussey yesterday, among some others, that really made a splash. When you look at the whole job that Coach Elko has been able to do, transfer portal, roster retention, high school commits and signees, just what do you think about the job he's done so far?
I'd give him an A+. Obviously up front, whenever Jimbo was fired, you had the mass exodus of guys, and which I think that was almost to be expected anyway. And so there was the immediate concerns, and the team that trotted out in the bowl game, looked young and looked like there were some big holes to fill. And he went out and addressed those immediately in the transfer portal, and then signed a really good class. It's not easy to do when you're in transition mode and you don't have a lot of your key assistants. Signed a lot of these kids before even naming a defensive coordinator or offensive coordinator, and so those are impressive things to do. I'm a huge Mike Elko fan. I'm fired up right now, and I'm excited to see how he develops these guys and how quick an impact they can have.
All those things. We talked about it yesterday. This was the signing ceremony for Terry Bussey. That was the final exam, right?
Yep.
And he aced it.
He did ace that one.
And so, really, we've talked about it before. Every step he's made has been a positive step. And yesterday, was a grand slam because they closed out the recruiting class by getting the number 15 or 16th player in the country.
Well, and Stephen, to add to that, and this came up on the show yesterday, when you analyze how a team did in the offseason, it's not as easy as it used to be. You could see that, I think On3 had A&M as like the 16th best recruiting class in the country. Sure, that might be the case with what he had to do in 2.5 months, but also you throw in the portal and you throw in the roster retention with the key guys that stayed, especially at quarterback and other positions. Now you're looking at it, the totality feels different.
It does. It's not the recruiting class anymore that gets the sole exam. It's going to be, as you said, the culmination of all three factors. And you did retain some really good guys, kept some good D linemen, obviously keeping Connor. That was the most important thing that the program's going to have happen in the next, quite some while. He's a heck of a player. You guys know that. But, besides those things, then going out in the portal and filling the needs with good veteran players, guys that can make a difference. It's not easy. It's basically turned into professional sports. You have to have a general manager. You have to have a guy that can recruit high school talent, right? That's like the NFL draft. But then you have to have a guy that is looking at rosters across the college landscape that can come in here and say, hey, this guy could make a difference. This guy's in the portal. He's a guy that we could add that could help us, right? So there's got to be eyes covering a lot of different levels of play, right? Not just major football conferences either. Being able to go find small school guys too is big.
Talking to Stephen McGee here on TexAgs Radio. Stephen, I don't know if you saw Greg Sankey yesterday. I think he was on Fine By, if not yesterday, in the last couple of days. Talked about the 5+7 college football playoff model, the 5 conference champions with the 7 at-large bids out there. And he thinks that could still be the case for 2024, which I find weird that we don't know the exact formula just yet, but it's because of the Pac-12, OB?
Yeah, I mean, so are you telling me that either Washington State or Oregon State gets in?
Guaranteed, yeah.
Because the Pac-12
Pac-2
is the Pac-2.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it's going to turn into 4 and 8.
But that's the world of college football we're in now, right? Like, we don't know, and it's freaking February.
It's wild. It really is. It's so many things have happened so quickly in the college football landscape. The shifts in the transfer portal and being able to pay players, and then the conference realignments. It's this huge migration of the way we used to know sports to be. It looks very different now, and hopefully in a good way, right? Hopefully we continue to get a better product on the field, but it's going to change the way programs operate, certainly, and I'm excited about the playoff next year. I really, no matter how they slice it, I think it's going to be better than what it is today.
I agree with that, and I think it'll be just a few years before they'll go to 16 teams. But to me, there's just too many good teams. If you have like A&M in 2012 wouldn't have gotten in a 4-team playoff, and they might have been. And A&M was arguably the best team in the country at the end of the year.
Yeah,
and it's hard to. I mean, they beat Alabama, the national champion, at their stadium. So at the end of the year, and then they just remember what they just destroyed Oklahoma, the Big 12 champion. So they're probably the best team in the country, but they wouldn't have got in a 14 playoff. So yeah, more teams makes it better, and you know what? It keeps the interest of the actual players. You know, so you have guys actually playing because they're playing for something instead of opting out of meaningless bowl games.
Yep, and that's the big problem, Stephen, is like maybe the only way you get these players to buy into bowl games is to continue to expand the playoff system.
That's exactly right. That's what I wanted to say next, is that it'll be interesting to see what happens to some of these sub-tier bowl games. I mean, the 5-7 team that makes it, it's a head scratcher, or 6-6. I don't see how the sponsors continue to dole out large amounts of cash for those types of games in which most of the good players are sitting out anyway, right? So it just the bowl system, I think, is going to be the next thing to change. And you know, I look at a team this year like Georgia that lost one late, and did they deserve to get in the playoffs? Arguably not. I mean, but I think if you were to say, hey, like, were they one of the best 4 football teams at the end of the year? I think we could probably all come to a consensus and say they probably were.
I think they would have won it had they.
I think they win the whole thing if they're one of the 4 teams. I think they had a bad game for their standards
with injuries.
Yeah,
and I think they would have beat Michigan.
Yeah,
exactly. I agree with you guys. I mean, who knows, right?
And
Got to get out there and line up and play, but
in.
They deserve to be there,
Right.
in my opinion.
And probably would have lost, but deserved to get in.
And hey, Stephen, were you ever on a playoff team with the Cowboys?
Yes.
So,
yeah, we were.
So you got an extra check, right, for being in that playoff game?
Yep.
That's why I always said, why don't they the bowls
do that?
Pay the, you know, if you're playing in the game, in that
make
bowl
that part
game,
of the NIL kind of package.
No, I would say you get a payout for every bowl game. So why doesn't a percentage of that go straight to the players?
I'd be a walk-on right now.
That keeps them in. No, the scholarship. No. And maybe you even have to actually play, but whatever. But anyway.
Hey, Stephen, this is unrelated, and just because he asked you about the Cowboys, I was going to ask you. So Tony Romo, I believe, is on the call this weekend for the Super Bowl. He was like the hot broadcaster back in 2017. I guess I had forgotten that people don't like him anymore. That's what happens when you get good at your job. Why do people not like Tony Romo at his gig anymore? I know he had one bad game last year. I think Chiefs and Buffalo. Like, he was doing a lot of uhs and like just not a lot of analysis. But outside of that, has he lost a step, or is he still Tony Romo?
I love him. I'm like you. OB, tell me where we're wrong. I've heard the same thing out there, but I prefer Tony Romo over Troy Aikman any day of the week. I believe the insights I get from Tony Romo are much better than Troy Aikman. I feel like Troy Aikman has a great voice, but he just describes what just happened. Oh, that was a good catch. I like to see more behind the scenes of why the quarterback made a decision, or the receiver, whoever did. And I think Romo does a great job of that.
Yeah, I like them both. Just like I always like John Madden, you know. And I guess what I'm getting at that is you have to be absolutely abysmal for me to even notice the play-by-play and color guy. As long as you're competent, I don't know why people get so worked up about it. Now, I have seen guys like Gary Danielson that gets on your nerves, that describes the things that if you're watching the game,
you got it.
You already know that, so you don't have to give me, you know, preschool football talk. But beyond that, I typically, as long as I get the names right and everything, then.
Are y'all a Chris Collinsworth fan?
I actually like Chris Collinsworth. I do.
Yeah, I do too. See, I think he's the best. I think he does a great job. He clearly does his homework, and he's sharp. He understands football.
I just don't get guys like Tessitore that oversells everything.
Yeah.
Right? Just don't be that guy.
Don't be that
oversells everything.
Yep. All right, let's hit a break here. Stephen, we'll come back. We're going to talk a little Saban to ESPN College Game Day. We'll do a little buy-sell lease, not involving Saban, but it could. We'll talk about that when we come back. Right now, we're talking Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're on Highway 21 in Caldwell. They're online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. When you're in the market for a new vehicle, that's the place you want to start your search. You go to their website, and you'll see the selection of vehicles that they have. But then you go there because you see a couple cars you like. Yeah, I like this one. I like that one. You go there, and they're going to talk you through the entire process. They will look at your car. They'll give you your trade-in value, and I think it's going to be really, really nice because it was nice for me. It's been nice for many of others in this area. And then you'll get the great deal on your vehicle. You'll get the great customer service, and you'll drive away happy. That's just how it works. That's the storyline when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet because they are awesome when it comes to all things service and getting you a new vehicle. And if you've got kids that are about to start driving, great place to go. And I think you're going to walk away very happy. Proud supporter of Aggie Athletics and just been a part of this community for a long, long time. Giving back is what they do. It's not a far drive. We're talking 15 minutes, the very edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the good people there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Got Stephen McGee on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. All right, so Stephen, in honor of Nick Saban getting into or being hired there at College Game Day, I'm going to let you buy, sell, lease a couple different college football broadcasters, all right?
All right.
Kirk Herbstreit, Pat McAfee, Jesse Palmer.
Oh. I guess I'll go with Herbstreit. I'm going to lease Pat McAfee, and I'm selling Jesse Palmer.
Any particular reasons why?
I always appreciate the professionalism of Herbstreit, and he seems like a very likable guy. Pat McAfee can be funny at times and brings a new twist to the arena, certainly. I wouldn't say that his blend or personality is necessarily my favorite. And then Jesse Palmer is a little bit different for me. And I guess there's some backstories there, but I think of the three, he's probably my least favorite.
Okay. I'd like to get the behind the scenes on that backstory, but we'll talk some other time about that. OB, give me your list.
I would buy Jesse Palmer.
I think he's really good.
Yeah, and I would. I think I would lease. I'm having a hard time deciding who I want to sell here. I guess I would lease Herbstreit, but I think Herbstreit has now thinks he's supposed to be the conscience of college football, and he's the guy telling everybody you should feel this way. And supposedly there's this story out now that supposedly he
Raiola
was advising Raiola not to go to.
But I think they're family friends, I think.
You stay out of any of that if you're in that position. But, I think, remember when Elko said, I may not watch ESPN, and Herbstreit's like, well, if we can make that happen. I'm like, why don't you just report on the games, right? So I think Herbstreit has gotten a bit too big for his britches, as they would say. And McAfee, I think, is great on a podcast, but I think what he does doesn't necessarily translate. We're talking. I don't think it works as well on television.
I'm torn on McAfee because I don't watch a show. The few times I've caught it, it's entertaining. I think he's really good at being Pat McAfee, right?
Yeah.
It's just not my style, but I think he's good. Like the few times I've caught it with Aaron Rodgers or afterwards, or how he addressed the whole ESPN situation, I was intrigued by it. But it's just I think he's good. He's just not my style, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think y'all bring up good points. I like the old school guys. I like Greg McElroy. I think he does a good job on college football analysis. I love Chris Collinsworth. There's some really good announcers out there. I can't really think of ones, though, that I don't enjoy listening to. So maybe it's just because I love absorbing college football and NFL football. I enjoy watching it. So it'll be a sad day after Sunday. No more football for a while.
Stephen, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you very much.
All right, guys.
See you, buddy.
Yeah.
OB, nice job. And by the way, there was a text that came in about Nick being able to be just a pinch hitter. That guy comes in, he's nails.
I didn't know he was a Orange Theory.
Oh yeah,
instructor.
I wouldn't be here if I never took that job.
No, Elizabeth did introduce me to Nick, and that's how he got here. But he's stayed here because he's awesome. Nick, good job. We'll be back in a few. I have not watched the Barbie movie. I watched 10 minutes with her, and I was like, I'm out. It's TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Jennie Park is here in studio for the first time in 2 years, is what we said, roughly.
Making her comeback.
Gerrod Chadwell in the house, big Barbie fan. Hey, buddy.
Good morning.
Hey, neighbor.
Hey, neighbor.
How you been?
We got the daughters. We got the daughters at work today.
Bring the daughters to work day today. But yours is here because she's so sweet and cute. She's here because she had a little bit of an issue this morning. And she's sweet and cute, too.
She is sweet and cute.
So let's talk about it. We were following along this weekend, this week, I should say. So I don't even know what day it is.
We don't either. We were there. We were still on island time, I think.
We were there for a couple, over a week.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember I told you should have brought me just to narrate the whole thing.
You should have.
Gotta get Billy to pay for that. Yeah,
There's plenty of room.
I need to go. But so, how was the experience? I know the final round didn't go the way you all planned, but just the overall experience. Jennie, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I mean, it was good. We're all playing pretty solid. Just got to clean up the simple stuff, the easy stuff. So we came back. We started the tournament after winning a match with USC. We still feel really good. Mm-hmm. So just scoring is what we need to do, and we're ready for Florida.
Yeah.
That's the same. You know, it's I think everybody's probably just a little disappointed. I think I'd seen where we maybe took the lead there for a brief second and just didn't finish off our rounds. And probably we could almost say that on all three, didn't finish them off the way we would like to. But, you know, a good chance to go do some team bonding. We were there for quite a while. And we had some donors come down, but it was 85 almost every day. But we got to see some SEC competition too.
I noticed that every team was especially in the top five.
And that's the thing that, you know, we'll talk today. We have a you know, team meeting this afternoon, and you know, the thing I want to tell them is, you know, we're still SEC champions until somebody tells us we're not, and we're kind of victims of our own success a little bit. Everybody around us has gotten better, so we need to find the inches that can help us get better. You know, I don't think Blanca had a great week. Adela played pretty good. And then our other three had their bright moments, but I know they would have liked to have a better 54-hole event too. Sure. So I think that's the encouraging thing I think I want everybody to see is we haven't put it all together yet. We really haven't come close to, I would say, you know, having 4 to 5 players have a really good to great week. And once we do that, we're going to be right where we want to be.
Forgive the ignorance in asking this, but is it, at the end of the day, I know this is how you finish the entire event, but the fact that you were each day right there in striking distance, the overall golf that was played, is that more appeasing?
I think it is, and it's still February. Like anybody would want to say we want to play our best golf in April, May. It's really hard to recreate playing in a final round at home, and we got that experience of playing in the final group 2 of the last 3 days. So there's a lot of positives to take away from Puerto Rico, and know that we didn't quite play our best, and that's okay. But we get to turn around and work on things, and then tee it up against a really good field in Florida next week.
Jennie, I'm looking at the the golfers that you're around that have been around here for a while. The core nucleus. Adela's still around, obviously. Blanca, yourself, Zoe. Just talk about that group who has set this tone for the program, and you're still here to set it even higher.
Yeah, this is obviously our last semester, and we just want to do everything we can to go further than we did the last 2 years. I think we've really turned this program around and attracting a lot of eyes. So we're ready to keep moving forward. Obviously, we're all the seniors of the team. We know what it takes to get to the top. So we just need to put a good week together and just take it to the end.
Where did the time go? Like, you just got here, you know, like almost 3 years ago, and like we've seen these ladies grow up into these stars, and there was potential there. They've reached that. They're going to eclipse what we already think about them. It's just gone by like that, though.
It has. The end of the year banquet's always tough on this guy. I mean, we could sit here and fill up a whole show of what they've accomplished in 2.5 years. So, you can't even. It's really almost unimaginable when you think of how we all came together at one time, and And it wasn't a team full of superstars either.
Yeah.
You know, everybody just went to work, and everybody, you know, including me, Gio, our staff, everybody around us has gotten better. And there's still room in the tank to finish this thing off. And what she said is, you know, even in February, there was no panic in Puerto Rico. Everybody was diligent about what they were doing. And I know they know that that's what it takes to accomplish some really hard things in April and May. But yeah, I mean, we're looking here. Where did the time go? But we still got a lot to do.
Yeah.
And we're really going to relish these last 3 or 4 months with this nucleus. And, you know, Jennie didn't mention it. What they've done to the program has now attracted players like themselves.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for as a coach.
This reference will go above your head. I think Gerrod will get it. But I used to feel like I was the Roy Firestone to Gerrod, because Roy Firestone was this broadcaster back in the day that people would come on his show and they would get emotional. Like he could get them to cry. I used to think I was that for Gerrod. But what I've learned about you is that you love your players and your golfers so much that like you can't help but emotions that come out of you when you talk about them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't mean to do that to you. I'm just pointing out that you do love your
I do.
your squad.
I do, and it's hard. You know, it's a very tough time in their life. College athletics is not getting easier. Everything, the distractions around them is not getting easier, and you still try and maintain that relationship of a safe place where they can come talk to you about anything, but also just pushing them out of their comfort zone to get better and to find those inches. And you know, the chapter she's about to embark on as a professional golfer, you know, you still want to be a part of that too. You want to be invited to weddings. So
I think you're good. You'll be there.
It's bigger than just putting trophies on the mantle.
Yeah. What does he mean to you?
I mean, just banking off what he said, I would not be the player that I am today without him in my life. He's going to caddy for me at Augusta, my final amateur event.
Yeah. It's in May, is that right?
In April.
April?
Yeah. And choosing him as a caddy, like that was a no-brainer for me because like we work really well as a duo together. I look up to him a ton as a coach. He's really flipped my game around, helped me grow as a person and a player. And I mean, obviously I can't thank him enough for the last 3 years.
What went into your decision?
This is like an Oprah show or something like that, I feel like.
I'm just letting you guys talk. What went into the decision to do it again, to run it back?
It's just a love that we have for the team and the game. We put in so much time and effort to be able to do what we do today. So it's like, we don't even think twice about accomplishing the things we want to, working towards the things we want to. Even academics, like we put 100% into everything that we do. And that just shows like the kind of people he has on the team, the type of players that he makes on the team. Like it's you can't even put into words like how, like what this bunch could do and accomplish in the future.
How pumped are you for Augusta?
Very. I mean, this is my second time, and if you asked me like 2-3 years ago if I would be going to this event twice in a row, I'd be like, there's no way. Like, I mean, those are the best amateurs in the world coming and getting the invite for the second time. It's unimaginable. I can't wait to do it again.
How about for you, just to be a part of it, to watch it, to be there, to be a part of the journey?
It's the pinnacle of amateur golf.
Yeah.
I mean, it is Augusta National, but you know, Champions Retreat is a very tough venue. And just to like, I think her and I are both very comfortable in that environment. There'll be an article written about, you know, taking a local caddy versus bringing somebody that, you know, you have a relationship with. And the young ladies will choose, you know, whether right or wrong, they'll choose the person they're most comfortable with in that situation. But you know, just gave me a brief chance to reflect on what she's accomplished as an amateur. You know, came to us from TCU and was doing well by all means. But she's played in the Palmer Cup, now 2 Augusta Women's AM, an All-American, graduated. And I think those are the reasons, you know, some of those reasons why she came back. But she'd probably tell you there was unfinished business too. And she wanted to make sure she had every I dotted and T crossed before she embarked on a professional career. I think we get to play a great schedule, so it keeps her sword sharp before she goes out in the summer. But This young lady has totally transformed her game, transformed this program, has attracted a lot of great players here, and she's going to be hanging around that building for a long, long time to come.
Garrett, I want to follow up on that because I think in today's world of college sports, right, there's so many distractions. There's so to have the elite golfers, the elite athletes in your sport to say, you know what, I want to do it again because we haven't done enough. To me, not only does that affect that season, it affects the seasons that are coming.
Without a doubt. You know, and Blanca too. Blanca, you know, his 5th year. Zoe doesn't have a COVID year. But yeah, for that nucleus to stay together, I mean, gosh, we're the benefactors of it, if you ask me. You know, yeah, gosh, you just don't want it to end.
Yeah.
You know, and I know we'll be a little bit younger next year, but what these younger ladies are learning from them just helps kind of pass that torch on down the line. So they've impacted this thing immensely.
All right, so I went through some names earlier. I know what he thinks. I want to know what you think about some of these teammates of yours, and maybe tell me something about their personality, not just the golf, all right? So when I throw the name Adela to you, what do you think?
I'm like her mom. Okay. She's like, I adore her so much.
Yeah.
She's grown so much since coming here. Obviously, it's hard coming from another country, adapting to a different language, but she's truly, truly grown into a woman, and I just love like caring for her. She's Adela.
What about Blanca?
Blanca she's also one of a kind. She's someone I love to share a laugh with. She'll always be there to put a smile on your face. She's.
And Zoe?
Zoe has been my roommate for hotels for the last 3 years since we've been here. So since day one, we both came here, transferred from a different school. She's my best friend. We'll be best friends for life.
All right.
Yeah.
Who's the biggest prankster?
I would have to say Blanca.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blanca. She's. Some of her jokes are a little questionable.
Yeah.
But she's funny. I'll give her that.
Who's the most serious? Is it you?
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How about for you on the bus, on the plane, listening to because when they're together, there's certain conversations that you're privy to, but when you're like just up front and you can hear just the laughs and all that, how's that?
It's good. It's it just feels right. You know, it's they get along so well. You know, what we just and you're integrating younger players in there too. I mean, we took 7 to Puerto Rico, but it just seemed like everybody's known each other for 20 years. Almost seemed like everybody gets along. Everybody respects each other's different opinions, different cultures that they're raised in. But yeah, it just feels right. Like we don't have the problems near a lot of programs have. And I think it's a testament to them of how they get along and how they respect each other.
So we talked a little bit about some of the opponents you all have gone against, but it feels like every tournament, every weekend, there's these names that you're going against. And for them, you're the name that they're going against. Yep. How has that prepared you for what's still ahead? Jennie, if you want to start us off.
It's definitely prepared us a lot. Obviously, winning SECs, we know that we can beat all these teams. All these teams, like G said, have gotten very well, have played very well in the last couple tournaments, but we know we're better and we know we're going to come back stronger. It's still early, still February. We have 3-4 months ahead of us. So obviously playing against these big name schools, it helps us know what we need to bring to the table to perform well. So
what do you think about because the way I look at it is you guys have set this bar so high, but you act as a program. It's not an act. This is who you are. You still are hungry, because there's a lot more you want to accomplish, but you also don't allow what happened last week to kind of dictate who you are today.
For sure. I mean, we want the toughest every week we go out. And that it's just neat to see. That's not where we started. And I think that's these young ladies have garnered a lot of respect around a lot of great programs around the country. And to think that, now we are part of that. Eastlake, I always reflect on Eastlake because that is such a celebration to a great year, and the fact that this program has been there the last 2 years. When you look at the schedule that we had to play our first year to now the schedule that we're playing now, it's big kid golf.
Yeah.
And to know that we belong there, it's where we should be, and I'm very thankful that that's where we are.
All right, one last personality thing. What's your age group? What are you guys watching? What are you binging on Netflix when you're traveling, or are you watching Disney Plus? Whatever. What are you guys watching?
I don't think we rarely watch any shows. We're mostly just on TikTok.
Oh,
so
yeah?
maybe that says something.
That time warp that is called TikTok.
Yeah.
They just scroll and
sucks them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Blanca, it's Instagram Reels.
Okay.
So we got both of those going on.
They're not big Netflix movies on planes. No, they're normally, it's crazy. They're like sleeping half the time. If it's in the van on the way to the airport, they're asleep. If it's in the airplane, they're asleep.
Are you a binge watcher? Or are you a book person? What are you?
No, probably a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Waiting for Yellowstone to come back out.
Oh, buddy. Yes. You guys your age group doesn't watch that, right?
No.
At home, obviously, we're doing a lot of Disney.
Yeah.
We're into princesses and Barbies at home, so we get that. Normally, if it's driving around town, she's DJing in the back seat. So, normally it's just maybe even catching up on emails and stuff on a plane. So,
all right. Before I let you guys go, just give me the short timeline and the long term timeline. What it looks like over here the next couple months.
So we got a little time to catch our breath, get better. We'll do a little qualifying between now and we leave for Orlando, Florida next Friday. Then quick turnaround and go to Houston. February is a very busy month for us. And then we have a good spring break trip in March. Then we go Augusta Women's Am, Clemson's in there. It just seems like it's almost every week and a half, every 2 weeks we'll be on the road. So seems like the weather's finally turned a little bit too, which will help to get better. And, everything's going to be starting to sprout around the golf courses. So just a good time to be a fighting Aggie, Texas A&M women's golfer.
Well, thank you both for coming in. And we'll get that Puerto Rico trip together at some point.
We got Bahamas in the fall.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll have to miss an Aggie football game. I guess that's just what it is.
Come on. I think it's a road game, if I remember right. Or it's a bye week. I can't remember.
Either way, I can watch it.
We can work it out.
I
All
can
right.
stream it.
You're in.
Thank you both. Appreciate you.
Thanks, David.
All right, when we come back next on TexAgs Radio around the SEC, that and more, it's TexAgs.
Yeah, I think that's the part that we have to get into now, right? And so I've watched a handful of workouts and had a handful of team meetings, but not nearly enough to sit here and speak really educated on that. And that's the next part of this, right? That's, we're going to take these 4 days and kind of breathe and get back and see the family a little bit and do those types of things. And then we're going to come back here Monday and it's going to be a 4-week roll with all of that stuff, right? To get into the meeting room with these guys, to get in front of these guys, to get out to the workouts with these guys, to start putting these guys through some agility football stuff. And I think that's the part that we have to transition to now. And I think that's the part that I'm really excited about. I think getting around this team now, we have a team, we've put it together, we've got the pieces in place. Now we've got to build it, right? And we have from now until, the opener to get it built to the level we need it for us to go out and have the season we want to have. And so I think that's now where we're headed.
All right, that's Mike Elko yesterday. That was actually the question that I asked. And Nick, I think you were sitting by me when that happened, right? TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Roller Insurance Studio. So part of that story, and Nick, I think you were editing something, so I don't think you were all paying attention.
I know where you're going with this. I know what happened. I saw every second of it.
Well, so I walked into that presser yesterday a little bit late. I had a meeting, and so I walked in at 104, 106, and I typically sit in the first 2 rows. And so AC will see me, or Coach Elko, or whomever's doing the Coach Henry, who was there, will see me, and I'll raise my hand. But I was in the very back row, and it's when you're in the very back row and you raise your hand to get called on, you don't want to distract the TV crew behind you, so you're just kind of it's like a half raise, and I kept on half raising.
Yeah,
and I don't think AC saw me.
Yeah,
and then luckily Coach Elko saw me. He's like, "No, hey, the presser's not over. Let him ask a question." So appreciate Coach Elko, because look, the bottom line is when we break down the future of this team. We've done the whole 5-star thing, the greatest recruiting class in the history of recruiting, right? We've done that, at least star-wise. And that's cool. I want a lot of 5 stars. But what I want is, does my team look like they can play at the SEC level? Okay, check. Do they act like they can play at the SEC level? Do they do all the work? And do they have the mental part of it? Is it a good fit? And that's why I asked, when you look at the entire body of work and you look at the work that you put in to add these transfers, and you look at the existing players that are staying around, and you look at the new high school guys that are coming in, do they fit what you want to do? The prior regime, we applauded it when they were getting all these guys, right? We applauded it. And by the way, when you are a super 5-star, you are willing to put up with more than you would when not. I remember, I forget how it's phrased. Somebody will text the show and tell me if I'm wrong. But there was a time where I think Jimmy Johnson, when he was the coach of the Cowboys, was asked about certain players not maybe doing every rep or and there's different rules for Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman than there are for other players. I don't love that philosophy, but I understand that philosophy because we know what you can get from a certain player, right? And at least what the potential is. But when you're 18 years old, I know you've been the best player on your campus for the most part if you go to an SEC school, right? Outside of Vanderbilt, you've probably been one of the top 2 or 3 players in your whole district and beyond, right? Like Terry Bussey, all world, right? But if you don't come in with a little bit of humility and trying to learn from those that you may be better than, you might be more athletic, but are you more effective? Do you understand what it is to be a college football athlete? Those are all questions. Torian York obviously understood that. Came in with probably a chip on his shoulder for not being looked upon as some of the 4 and 5 stars out there. And what did he do? He just dominated, right? They're not all going to be Torian Yorks. They're not all going to be Anaya Smiths. But if you bring in the right blend of people, look, Georgia has 5 stars galore. You got to get the right 5 stars that fit your program, but you got to get the 5 stars. You're not going to win with a bunch of 2 and 3 stars. You're just not. You get the right 5 stars to fit your program. And then they got to buy in. And from all indications, Coach Elko has established a culture now that some players are going to have to adapt to, or goodbye. That's just the nature of college football. That's the nature of college sports. So when you bring in a Terry Bussey, and all indications he's a great kid, right? and a superior athlete who yesterday they said will probably start off at cornerback. Cool. And he'll get some looks offensively. But you got to be a part of the fabric. You got to be a part of what the future is going to look like. You got to be a part of the right now. And that was why my question, because you try to fill these needs with the best available talent that makes sense to what you are trying to accomplish. And they have done a very, very good job. It feels so, right? We'll see. Again, at the end of the day, was it Connor O'Gara, Nick, that we had on 2 days ago? It was Connor. And he was like, he thinks 8 wins would be, he thinks they can be above 8 wins. But he was like, I think 8 wins is certainly something very doable.
Yeah, that was him.
Look, you got to play out scenarios. I don't know how the season's going to go out. I don't know who's going to get hurt. I don't know who's going to emerge, who's not going to emerge, right? Like, let me tell you right now, 8 wins ain't going to cut it for me. Sorry. I have bigger aspirations. I want to see how the things play out just like all of you. But 8 wins does not excite me today. It's not going to. Like, this has got to be a 9-10 win program moving forward. And I only believe that today. Like, if you would have told me when they fired Jimbo and they hired Mike and, you lost Walter and you lost Evan and it looked like you were going to lose Evan and you thought you might lose Tyreek Chappelle and you might lose Chase Basantis and you got Chase Basantis back. Tyreek Chappelle, if you believe what his dad tweeted, it looks like he might still be in the fold. But then I would have been like, man, I think at 8 wins it'd be good, right? But after the success that I saw them have in the portal and after the success that I've seen them do with the high school kids, I'm like, I think better than that. You have a tough schedule. People say it's a cakewalk. It's not a cakewalk. You can't take on, and we won't know because how a team does in 1 year is not an indication of how they're going to do the next year. There's no guarantee that Missouri is going to be as good as they were last year, although they might be even better. There's no guarantee for anything. But to me, I have higher aspirations, absolutely, regardless of not knowing how Will Lee's going to pan out, how Nick Gordon's going to pan out. Like my aspirations are significantly higher. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Callie Gardner's there. Callie, I'm sure we got a text or two or a thought or three.
We do. We have a text from Clayton in College Station. He says, if Boots, Wade, and Garcia stay hot, do you think we can genuinely have a chance to turn around our season, given how hard our remaining schedule is?
Turn around our season. Turn around our season. What does that mean? Nick, let's kind of chew on that for a moment. What does turn around the season? Does that mean get in the mix in the top 4 in the SEC? Is that what turn around your season means? Can they beat Tennessee once and maybe even beat Alabama? Is that basically what you think turn around your season means?
I think turn around the season, at least for me, it means you're not sweating when it comes to Selection Sunday. Like, you're in the tournament. You've done enough. You're satisfied with your body of work. And I think that would mean picking up a win over a Tennessee at home, because going on the road to do it later on in the season will be even tougher. So I think your best bet is to do it, this coming Saturday. Like you just said, maybe go beat Alabama on the road if you can't get the one against Tennessee, and taking care of business against the teams you can beat, get your revenge against Ole Miss, and win a couple games in the SEC tournament. And like I said, I think if you're sitting here on Selection Sunday knowing, hey, we're going to be a, 5-6 seed. Let's
talk about that for a second, because right now you look at the top 3 teams in the SEC. South Carolina, Auburn, and Alabama are all 8-2.
Yep.
A&M is 5-4. By the way, they could easily have lost a couple more. They could have easily won a couple of more games, right? But you beat Kentucky, who has 4 losses. They got more wins than you do, but they got 4 losses. You beat Florida, who's at the same record as you are, 5-4. So and you take on Alabama coming up. There is a chance for you to change the perception of your team, because you look at a 7 seed right now, you're like, oh my gosh, it's improvement from where they were, but it's still in the middle of the whole conference, right? But you win a couple of these games, and maybe you don't beat Tennessee. What if you split with Tennessee, right? And you do beat Alabama. Now you're talking about a potential to be a top 5 seed in the SEC, and maybe even be a game or 2 back of some of the other ones. You take care of games that you're supposed to. Look, it does come down to, I hate to put all the pressure on Boots, but it just seems like when Boots has a really good game, they win, right? So as great as Wade Taylor is, if Boots can be the Boots we've seen the last 2 games, and forget me if I'm wrong, but this is probably the best 2-game stretch of the season against quality opponents that Boots has had, right?
Yeah.
So there you go. And by the way, I think you should have won Ole Miss. So instead of winning 4 of 5, you should have won 5 of 5. So you don't have that much margin of error. But to put that schedule back up, because I look at it and I'm like, you got to beat Tennessee. No, I'm sorry. I'd like for you to beat Tennessee. I don't know if you got to beat Tennessee. OB said in the first segment they are probably the best team in the SEC. You get them at home. I like your chance to compete in that game and have a chance at the end. That's how I'll phrase it. You got to win on the road at Vandy. And, I mean, I think you've done pretty well against Bama. So why not? Get those, and then obviously get one back against Arkansas. If you take 2 out of the next 4, be it 7 and 6, I don't love it. But then after that, at Tennessee, yeah, you're going to have to win some games. But if Boots is playing at the level he's played the last couple games, then yes. I don't know if you can turn around your season to get back to what we thought they were going to be, but you can change the perception of where they are right now, and that starts with the kind of games that Boots Radford has had.
I will say, last time A&M traveled to Alabama versus a ranked Crimson Tide team, they won 87-71. That was in 2021, granted, but we'll see what happens.
Yep, and they beat Alabama here last year.
Yeah.
When Alabama was all-world. So there is that. By the way, to kind of continue to feed the Buzz Williams narrative about February, I'm just saying, this is when Q Jackson they gave him the keys to the car, right? They gave Wade Taylor the keys to the car right around now. He was emerging, and then bam, right? Hello, it's February. Who's emerging recently, Nick Savage?
A&M.
Well, who? Boots Radford.
Oh, Boots, sorry.
So
yeah.
Are the keys now kind of offensive? Like, hey, let's just let Boots create and let Wade slash off of Boots. Maybe that's the emphasis that they're going to go with. That's stuff that we can talk to Logan Lee about later on in the program. Let's hit a break here. When we come back, Aaron Torres Online and Fox Sports Radio. Right now, though, we're talking Heritage Films. That is Chance McClain's company. So Annalisa's here in studio with me. We did a Year Flicks video with her, I don't know, like a year ago. I think it was about a year ago, right? And she went to Chance's awesome studio. She sat in front of a green screen. She was acting a fool when she didn't think we were watching. Her and her sister Isla were just having fun. We got the footage. It's great. We'll make fun of her at her wedding one day. But the best part about the 20-minute Q&A was we got to see Annalise kind of tell stories that I had not heard, right? Some stuff that happened at school, stuff that I knew, but with her words to kind of like, I don't know, to paint the picture, right? And it's a benchmark video of where she is in life right now. That's what the Yearflix is. 20-minute Q&A for the youngers that can be for a freshman in college, sophomore in college, junior year, senior year. You got your 4-part series there. You got yourself plenty of video footage about your kid. And it's a cool thing that he does. He also does the Heritage Film, which we've also done with my dad. 2-hour documentary film where you get to tell the story of the family life, right? How the family came together, how they got to the United States, how they started the family business, how they started the family ranch, all that in a 2-hour documentary that you get to share with your family and watch together. That's what Chance McClain does. The website is yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. All right, we're back here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studios. Time for Around College Athletics, brought to you by Milliken Reserve, a College Station community featuring homes, trails, farms, wide open spaces, with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Take part in the Milliken Reserve community with a Conservancy membership. Learn more, millikenreserve.com. So yesterday we're doing the signing day show, and my buddy Aaron Torres, Fox Sports Radio, is listening, and he's expecting hard-hitting analysis, but he tuned in at the time we were talking about the 1994 Expos and Astros. And he's like, dude, I'm here to listen to Terry Bussey talk, and we didn't get that. So AT joins us now here on the Brian Foley Law Hotline. AT, what up?
Well, if we're being honest, Pete Carroll used to have Tell the Truth Mondays or whatever at USC. We'll call this a Tell the Truth Thursday. I actually did tune in a little earlier and then listened and heard some good Terry Bussey stuff, and then went out to walk the dog. I was listening to the actual analysis when I was working out. Then figured, hey, maybe I missed something. I'll go back and see what they're talking about now. And you were breaking down the 1994 Houston Astros with Jeff Bagwell and Craig Biggio. And, nothing else to say other than, you guys think of Jeff Bagwell as an Astros legend. I think of him as a University of Hartford icon in West Hartford, Connecticut. I grew up in walking distance of University of Hartford. No big deal. My high school baseball coach played at University of Hartford with Jeff Bagwell. So, you didn't think Torres could make Jeff Bagwell, the 94 Astros, about him. But as my wife says, you seem to always make it about yourself, and I just did right there. So unbelievable stuff by me.
AT, I know you don't follow recruiting where you know every guy and what that 5-star means and what the class means. I know that's not your thing. It's not my thing. I have Bronny do that for us and Lucci. But from the tea leaves, from the indications, what do you think about the job Coach Elko's been able to do 2.5 months into the gig and not only get a nice class, get a really good transfer class, and retain a huge part of your roster that includes your starting quarterback?
Well, I think he's done an awesome job. And what I will say is I observed this from a distance this year is that I think every program goes through like a 3-4 day period, and it's not just when a coach takes over where it looks like everything is going sideways. I mean, even Georgia had a week where they lost, 17, 18 guys to the portal, whatever. And obviously, look, the outsider will say, well, you lost Walter Nolan. Well, you lost Evan Stewart. Well, you lost this guy. You lost that guy. And it's like, you actually look at who the team wanted. I know there are players that the team did not want to lose that they lost, but again, that's everybody. And I don't think the number is probably as big as people want to make it out to be. And so you use that as a jumping off point of, okay, the first 2 or 3 days were rocky. A bunch of guys entered the portal. What happened from there? And I think what stood out to me is Elko very clearly just has a plan and a vision. And I know every coach says it, but it's obvious that he does. I mean, he attacked first of all, he put together a really good staff, attacked the portal, filled a lot of holes. I mean, I remember talking to you last year, and it's like, we're having trouble in the portal. And I don't know whether it was the depth chart or the previous coaching staff, whatever, but he clearly had a great plan in place for the portal, brought in a lot of veteran players to kind of, again, plug spots in areas of need. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's exactly what you just said, David. I'm far from a recruiting expert, but we know that to win in this league, you need difference makers. And by all accounts, Terry Bussey is a true difference maker. And so you need more than just one. But obviously, listen, this was the first big test. We know that, not just LSU, but Georgia and others really wanted this kid. And so to close that deal, to keep this kid at home, to keep this kid in the class and as the headliner of a class, I thought was a really good job. I thought it was really impressive. And obviously now you turn your attention to 2025. But I think it now gives you momentum going into 2025 as well.
AT, I had a segment a few minutes ago where I was just like, look, I want as many 5-stars as possible, but let's be honest, getting as many 5-stars as possible could be a recipe for disaster if they're not the right 5-stars. If they don't get your culture, or if you haven't established your culture for guys to morph into what the Elko way needs to be. And we know during the Jimbo days, there was a lot of talent there, but some of it just wasn't the right fit.
Well, and listen, I know it's easy to bash the former guy now. He won a fair number of games, not enough for him to keep the job. But I just bring it up because obviously when he left, when he was fired, a lot of reports came out about what happened and what didn't happen. And one thing that struck me was that, he was almost obsessed with recruiting rankings of individual players, but of also of finishing with that number one class specifically in 2022. And listen, again, you need to accumulate those players to win in this league, especially going forward as it only gets tougher. But also, you kind of read and saw certainly that maybe you overlooked some things in the evaluation, sometimes from a physical skill standpoint. Some guys just weren't good enough, but also from a character standpoint. And I know it's the most cliche, corny thing to say, but just because you have five-star talent, you also have to have, I don't want to say five-star character, but you can't be a guy that's a distraction or isn't going to work or whatever, because just as you move up levels, you're not going to be able to get by on natural talent, and you're not going to be able to get away with stuff that you were able to at previous levels. So I think that's what the best really kind of do, which is evaluate talent on the field, but also are able to evaluate character off the field. Obviously, the verdict is still we're a long way away from getting what the verdict is, both on the field talent and then, of course, off the field. Are they doing what they're supposed to do? But listen, that was part of the problem of the previous class and every coach, or the previous regime, every coach talks about culture and those types of things. And I do think early on it appears as though Mike Elko is doing a good job of building it.
AT with us here on TexAgs Radio. What do you think about this new buddy cop movie that's coming out soon with Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, the Big Ten SEC trying to take over the future of college football?
Buddy cop movie, yeah. I mean, listen. It's interesting. We all know that it's an SEC Big Ten world going forward. And I don't know what that means for anything other than football. I still think there's going to be a place for the Gonzagas and San Diego State and basketball, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously, look, football, it drives, I don't think it's hyperbole to say 90% of the revenue, if not more, in college sports. And so people in college sports basically saying, we're going to decide what the future of this thing looks like. And it comes from the pressure of the presidents, the ADs, and the coaches to get something moving forward. I saw some quotes from Greg Sankey yesterday. I think he was on with Feinbaum, basically saying, we're not moving fast enough on these issues that are impacting our campuses. And I do think, based on the recent Tennessee investigation, which we've all read about, et cetera, I think it's pretty obvious that the NCAA, besides being ill-equipped, I just don't think they really understand what is going on these campuses with these football and basketball programs specifically, and even to a smaller degree, some of the other sports. So, listen, I think my take is like everybody else's. We can't keep going on the way that we are. We need to start looking at what this world is going to look like in an NIL world, in a transfer portal world. We don't have to eliminate transfers. We don't have to eliminate NIL. We're not going back to 1964 here. But at the same time, we need something better than the current system in place, because for all the reasons that everybody already knows, the current system is not sustainable.
Aaron, I know you don't watch every second of Aggie basketball, and beating Missouri is not something to jump up and down about. That being said, they've won 4 of 5, and they've shown flashes of what they love to do, which is dominant defense, suffocating defense. And also, Boots Radford has found his form, at least in the last couple of games. So, to me, maybe they don't get into that top 2 or 3 seed that we had aspired for them to get to, and maybe even have a deep, deep run in the NCAA tournament. But at least there's a little bit of a hope at the way they're playing that maybe they can navigate their way and not be a bubble team, maybe get a little bit higher into that.
Well, a couple things. One, I'd be lying if I said I watched the Missouri game. Missouri's not very good this year. But I did watch a lot of the Florida game. I think it was maybe the Kansas-Houston game was on at the same time, and it was kind of a blowout, so I gravitated a little bit towards the Texas A&M and the Florida game. And I thought that was actually a very important win because Florida was obviously coming off a win at Rupp Arena. They were playing well. And so I think what you said is important, David, and this is something that has been a little bit of a trademark of the Buzz Williams era is, listen, in a perfect world, you'd love to start the season great, be awesome all year, and end the season great. That really isn't generally how college basketball works. Now, sometimes it is. There's the rare exceptions. You can like Purdue, not like Purdue, but they've been pretty consistently good since the start of the year, North Carolina, et cetera. I would bring it up to say the point is, and the point being, that when you want to be figuring things out is this time of year. You want to be playing your best basketball February into March, and we are now at, the quarter point of the February season, and it appears as though A&M is starting to hit their stride, heading into their home stretch. So I think it's really important. I mean, listen, I think to be playing your best basketball this time of year is very, very, very important. And as you said, listen, would it have been a great story to be, 28-5 entering the tournament and have a 2 seed? Yeah, it'd be awesome. Like that, no program in America is going to turn that down. But I also think this is the next best thing, which is, okay, you didn't really totally have it figured out in December, a little bit up and down in January, but man, oh man, things seem to start turning in February. And I think most importantly, too, you're winning the games you have to. You beat a Missouri, you beat a Florida at home. Those are the type of games that you have to win to maintain and to kind of be in line with all the goals that you want to reach at the end of the year.
AT, we got about a minute left. They get Tennessee next. Is Tennessee the best team in the SEC?
Yeah, I think so. I actually think it's by a pretty significant margin. I know Alabama. Listen, I think, Nate Oates, how he handled things last year was not ideal. I think what he's done this year is incredible because I don't think they're that good. Like, I think you kind of go position by position. They were better pretty much every place on the court last year. But Tennessee, listen, again, my take is kind of what everybody else's take is. They've always been tough. They've always been good defensively. But this year, as they did at Rupp Arena the other night, they can put up 100 if they have to, or at the very least 85 to 90. And the one thing I say about, the NCAA tournament and winning there, you've got to be able to win a number of different ways. You can't try to win every game 64 to 62, which is something I think that they have tried to do in years past. There's always going to be a game that gets high scoring where you got to score 80, 85. They can do that this year. So, yes, to answer your question, I do think they're the best team in the SEC.
That is Aaron Torres. Aaron Torres online, and you can find him at Fox Sports Radio. AT, appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you in a week.
All right, Nuño. Thank you, guys. Have a great afternoon.
Hey,
Thank you.
Real quick, who's going to win this weekend? I should have asked you that.
What? I've bet against Mahomes the last 2 weeks, so last 2 games. I probably the Chiefs. I mean, I really don't have like a strong pick. I think probably the Chiefs. I think the 49ers are better. I think it's weird that they've needed 2 fourth-quarter comebacks. I'll go Chiefs.
All right, Chiefs it is.
I'm inspired, I know.
Talk to you soon, bro. Awkward ending to the interview. Awkward goodbye to the break. We'll be back. It is now time for a round. The SEC, Caitlin Torren in the house. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
It's been one of those kind of mornings. How are you?
Long morning. I'm good. Good. Really fun to be here for signing day yesterday.
Was that cool?
Awesome. It was really
Behind
cool.
the scenes to see everything happen?
Behind the scenes, watching Bussies live.
Yeah.
Big stuff.
What do you got for us?
Well, first, I wanted to ask you your thoughts on this new Big Ten SEC Alliance
Conglomeration
committee, whatever you want to call it.
I love, my goodness, we're already a minute and a half away. I love that Sankey, I know a lot of people don't like Sankey, but I think he's got the right plan for college football. Obviously, what happened with the University of Texas joining the SEC upsets us, but for the greater good of college football, if he's involved in it, I like it, and I think the two biggest conferences should define what it's going to look like, and I hope it doesn't come down to just those two conferences unless they absorb the rest of the conferences. I know you got a couple little news bits for us.
Well, in basketball last night, Auburn beat Alabama 99-81, and Auburn is still the only SEC team that's undefeated at home.
A&M should have beat them.
Should have beat them. This was interesting that I read. It's the first time that these two teams have met, both ranked inside a top 20 team since 1987.
Oh, interesting.
They had 85 combined total free throws attempted. Auburn set a school record of 40 made free throws. Jalen Williams and Johnny Broome had a combined 50 points. Also, Bama was leading the SEC before this game. This Auburn win brought it to a three-way tie between Auburn, Alabama, and South Carolina, just half a game ahead of number 6 Tennessee, who we face on Saturday.
Keep the rest of that for later. We got to hit a break here. We'll come back with Logan Lee on TexAgs Radio. Drama for Your Mama, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. My buddy, my friend, Logan Lee is in the house. So you were listening.
I was.
I'm doing the roller coaster thing that talk show hosts do, where I'm really happy about a victory against the 0-9 Missouri team or 0-10 Missouri team, whatever they are. But when I talk about what they've done in 4 out of the last 5 games, I am more, I don't want to phrase this, impressed with some of the suffocating defense we've been getting again, which I think was lacking at certain points of the year. And also, Boots is playing well too, which makes all the difference in the world.
I mean, I think they got rid of a cancer in the locker room, and that's the injury bug.
Yeah.
Boots looks like he's healthy. He hasn't looked like he's been healthy. And you're seeing the effects of what he can do for this team. And not only himself individually, but his play has bolstered Anderson Garcia's play.
Right.
I mean, Anderson I can't say enough about his game and what he does for this team and what he would really do for any team when given the opportunity. I'm sure everybody that watched the game saw it at one point in the first half. He had 11 rebounds, or maybe it was at going into halftime. He had 11 rebounds. The whole Missouri team had 11 rebounds. What I'm not sure what time frame that was.
It was like towards like 3 minutes left in the first half. Yeah.
And you know, that's what he does. He's the announcers were talking about him the entire game. He only had 5 points, but he had multiple big time offensive rebounds. He had a handful of assists. He does it all for this team, and he does it all without getting the recognition.
Yeah.
He doesn't care about that. He wants to go win. He's a good teammate. But then you go back to the Boots factor and the way Tyrese Radford has been playing the last 2 games and what he has done to open up some easy shots for Wade Taylor. You know, Wade's been in foul trouble the last 2 games a couple of times, but he still puts his mark on the game, and he still impacts the game when he's on the court. And so you put those 3 together, and all of a sudden, you got a pretty good looking team. Now, if you can add another scoring option here or there, it doesn't have to be Hayden Hefner all the time. It doesn't have to be Jace Carter all the time. You know, you can throw a couple of those in there, whatever mix and match, plug and play lineups that you want to have at specific times in the game, and you've got the potential to make a run like Buzz usually makes a run at the end of the year. Like we've all been waiting for this, and this is they're gaining momentum. Now they have a tough schedule ahead.
Yeah.
But you would rather have that positive momentum going into the tough schedule than just kind of lackluster up and down.
So let's play this out for a minute, because when we look at the schedule, you think about how A&M had played up until February, right? Like that's the thinking. Like, well, they should win at Vanderbilt, but I don't know. And Tennessee, you know, they're the best team in the world ever, like greatest team ever. Alabama got it. So, but if they're playing the way Boots is playing right now, if you can copy and paste that kind of formula that we've seen, now you look at those games as hard as they are. Well, why not? Why not have a win, a couple wins against those ranked teams?
Absolutely. I mean, you look at Tennessee. That's 2 weeks ago, I would have said they're going to get beat by 40. It's just the way Tennessee is playing and the way A&M is playing, Tennessee's going to come in here and just steamroll them, and it's not going to be a game. Mm-hmm. Now you look at it and you say, A&M's got a chance to win. They have to play well. They can't just show up and hit a couple of baskets and reduce their turnovers by 2. They've got to play sharp. Like A&M has to play one of their best games of the year to beat a number 6 Tennessee team. It's the best team in the conference right now. Even though their record, I don't think their record is tops right now. Tennessee is the best team in the conference right now.
I agree.
And they are, man, they are rolling, and A&M's going to have to play their best basketball to win. But then you look at it going to Vanderbilt. That's always a tough game. No matter how good Vanderbilt is that year, going to Vanderbilt it's a tough place to play, and historically for Texas A&M,
win that game, though.
You have to.
You got to win that game.
It's just like we talked about Missouri. You have to win the Missouri game. That's a must win, because if you lose to a 0-9 team, at the time they were 0-9 when they were playing, if you lose to a 0-9 team, it's just like losing to Arkansas, who hadn't won a game, who I think in their net ranking was like 130, 140, somewhere around there. And you can't You can't lose to those types of teams when you have already lost a handful of games. And so you have to beat Vandy. And then you have at Alabama. That's another tough game. Alabama is one of the best teams. Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee.
Yep.
Those are the top three right now. And you have to beat them, or you don't have to beat them, but you have to show up. You at least have to show up, especially on the road. So if you can get two out of the next two, and play well, not get blown out, I think you're in a good position. But then you have Tennessee again. You have South Carolina.
Well, I look at it like this. You got 5 wins, right? You have 5 wins right now. You're 5-4. You have 4 must wins, plus you need to win one of the games that you're not expected to win as of today. So you have to win against Vandy. You have to. You have to win against Arkansas. You cannot get swept by Arkansas. You have to win at Georgia. Georgia is a 4-win team. You have to win that game. It's not easy. And you have to win Mississippi State. All right, those are 4 wins. That gets you to 9. Then you better beat Ole Miss. If you get the 10 wins with that formula, regardless of what happens in the other games, you're, I think, safe in the tournament. And let's just say this team plays their best against the Kentuckys. Hopefully you can do that against Tennessee. If you split with Tennessee, 11-win season, if you split with Tennessee, or you get the Alabama game. If you win one of those 3 games with the formula I just gave you, you're in the tournament and you're not breathing heavy at Selection Sunday.
I mean, I think if you win the games that you said, which was at Vandy, Arkansas, at Georgia, and Mississippi State, if you win those games,
9-9, does that get you in?
I think it does.
But you're sweating. At 9-9,
you're on the bubble, and you're wondering, hey, is my name going to get called?
So let's get to 10.
If you get to 10, which is beat Ole Miss, then you're in. And if you win one of the 2 out of Tennessee, if you win against Alabama, if you beat South Carolina,
well, if you do all that, you're
no. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If you win one of those 3 teams, which is 4 games, I think you're in comfortably.
Yeah, I agree.
Comfortably, and they're probably. I say at that point you're probably a 6 seed.
But this conversation blows up if you not only lose to Tennessee, you lose to Vanderbilt. Because then you get Bama again, right? Like, so you as a talk show host and analyst, we can kind of forecast, but they need to put their head down, and it is all about Tennessee right now, right?
Without question. And I think that's how it is. You know, it's very cliche to say next game, next team. But with the way that A&M season has gone up and down, injuries, suspensions, so on and so forth, it is truly a one game at a time, because they can win any game that's on that schedule right there, but they can lose any game that's on that schedule. It doesn't matter if it's Arkansas, who is not very good. It doesn't matter if it's at Vandy. It doesn't matter if it's at Georgia. The Mississippi State game, like, those games don't matter, because in regards to who their opponent is, because they can lose that game. And that's the scary thing about this season. At this point in the year, the past 3 years, well, since COVID, you and I have been talking about, man, A&M's a tough out. Nobody wants to see them right now.
Yep.
Nobody wants to see them right now. But this year, it's nobody wants to see the good A&M team.
But they'll take the bad one.
But they could.
But even the
one that's lost 4 games in conference.
But even those games
beatable.
Outside of LSU were close games.
Yeah, but they didn't look good. It didn't feel good.
That's exactly
right. I think the last 2 games have felt good. Just the way that they've played. And even though Missouri was a 4-point game in the second half,
they turned on the clamps.
You could feel the momentum, and you could tell which team was better. Missouri was just trying to hang on.
Yeah.
A&M was just choking them out slowly. And then once A&M felt that, put a little pressure on them and put a little more pressure on them, pressure bust pipes, and Missouri was done.
Yep. I want to talk for a moment back to Anderson Garcia. So I don't hide my loyalties. I love Anderson Garcia, and and it's not because we talk in Spanish, right? Like,
no, it is.
It's part of it.
That is 100% why in the beginning.
No,
his play has grown on you, but
no.
100% why in the beginning.
No, the way he plays. I gravitate to players like the way, like that. Think about it. Oh, it's a bad example. I was going to say Eduardo Nahara, but it's a bad example. All right. But there's certain players that they're championship level players. And that doesn't mean they win championships, but championship teams have guys with that kind of DNA on them. That's what I look at Anderson Garcia. I don't think of him as an offensively gifted guy, but I trust him. Yeah. He can pass his you-know-what off. That guy is a great passer. He gets rebounds. He makes people on the floor better. That's why I like him.
I mean, you look at it, and it was, I'm not sure exactly what play it was in the second half, but the TV replayed it, and the announcers went play-by-play. Anderson Garcia first to the floor. Anderson Garcia first up off the floor. He cuts to the basket. He gets the pass where he's open in the paint, and immediately touch pass kicks it out to Radford for a three. He didn't even look at the basket because he knew my teammate's here and my teammate is on point today. I'm passing it here. I don't care about myself. Here it is. First to the floor, first off the floor. Gets the ball as he cuts to the basket, passes it out, three. It's those types of plays that energize him and his teammates. Yep. And that's just second nature to him. He doesn't even think about that. That's a normal play for him. That's not a normal play for anybody outside of probably 10% of college basketball right now.
Well, let's talk about the art of rebounding and not the desire, because I think there's rebounding can be broken into a couple things. There's body, spacing, obviously, desire. No one's going to beat you to the ball. But there's also the art of understanding the trajectory of the ball off the rim and knowing how to put yourself in a position to get that. That's one of the skills that he does that I don't think gets talked about a lot. He finds himself in the right spot often. He
definitely reads the flight path of the shot, and he anticipates way better than 99% of his competition. And that's why he's always in that spot. And here's the thing. He's not always in the spot to grab the rebound. He just tips it out.
Yep.
Tip it to half court. Somebody's there. And A&M, 9 out of 10 times, gets that tip out because they're expecting their teammate to do that. And he just has a knack for the game and where to be. And a lot of that comes from preparation. He prepares that way. He expects to be in those positions, and that's why he's so successful.
Here's another follow me, all right? Follow me on this journey.
Oh, boy.
Wade Taylor's their best player, right? Offensive player, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But they're better when Boots is their best offensive player.
They're better when Boots is their most aggressive offensive player.
Okay.
If you look at...
The reason I bring it up, they're 10-1 when he's got 20-plus in his career at A&M. And the big games that he shows up, Wade has a good game too, but it's like Boots kind of being the catalyst offensively.
Yeah, but when you look at those games of 20-plus, look at how aggressive he is going towards the basket.
Yes.
Take out these last two games, and let's go previous 5 games before that he was playing. I don't know if he played 5 games in a row or if injury caused him to sit out, but take those 5 previous games before these last 2. When he attacked the basket, it wasn't himself. He didn't have enough lift. He didn't jump into somebody and create contact. He didn't have that body control. He went into the paint figuring, how am I going to go around the defense? How am I going to pass it out? Who am I going to pass it out to? Now it's a straight line drive. I'm taking it through your chest.
Yes.
I am going to, before halftime, get to the basket, do a 360 finger roll on the other side of the paint. Like, he would have never even tried that 4 games ago.
Right.
And now you look at what he's doing, and he is just so much more aggressive. And by his aggressive nature going to the basket, the defense has to collapse, which allows Wade a little breathing room.
Heck yeah.
I mean, he had, 18 points?
Yeah.
Like,
I guess that's my point, is if he's the catalyst, how I phrased it earlier in the show, a couple years ago, this is when Q started. He was given the keys to the offense, right? Everybody get out of the way, let Q do his thing. And it carried them. Last year, Wade kind of had this ascension that started absolutely in January, but in February, he took his game to another level. I am creating a narrative that may or may not be there, but that if Boots starts playing the way, and not just scoring the points, but what you said, being the guy who's going to be relentless to the rim, and that opens up everybody else. And it does allow for Wade not to feel all the pressure of the defense on him.
But I also think that as much as Wade Taylor benefits from Radford's aggressiveness, I think it is the exact same way for Boots. He benefits from Wade, because if you look at it, there were a number of times, and I would say probably at least 50% of the time, when Boots drove the ball and got to the paint, it was coming off of Wade Taylor being aggressive to the basket.
Sure.
Because Wade attracted the defense, kicks it out, whether it was a kick out to Boots or a kick out to somebody else who then got it to Boots, the defense was having to rotate, and then he got into the basket. So, yes, a lot of credit has to be given to Boots' aggressiveness, but I do think that Wade also needs that recognition of not just firing up threes from 35 feet, but he has now become aggressive to the basket and has opened up everything else for his teammates as well. There's a give and a take there, and Wade is the most talented offensive player on this basketball team. But without Boots as alongside him, he can't carry the team.
Right.
I don't think Boots can carry the team by himself either. I don't think it's you take out Wade and all of a sudden Boots can do the exact same thing he's doing. I think those two have to play off of each other, and that's what makes the team whole.
Do you think it's more about matchups at this point? Who gets more of the minutes between Manny and Hayden Hefner? Because both have shown flashes like, all right, we can rely on them, and both of them have been inconsistent. Yesterday was Hayden Hefner getting 16 minutes to Manny's 5. The game prior, it was Manny getting those minutes.
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to be matchups, because when you look at Tennessee or Alabama, I don't know if Hayden Hefner's athleticism on defense can withstand 16 to 18 minutes against those athletes that Alabama and Tennessee have. Nothing against Missouri. They just don't have the same athletes. That's also why they are 0-9. But if you're going to split time, I do think Manny and his athleticism, his length with his wingspan, and his quickness, lateral quickness in comparison to Hayden, if there are matchups, Alabama is better for Manny than it would be for Hayden. And that's just strictly a thought process. I haven't necessarily looked at Alabama in totality, but I think that's what it's going to come down to. I don't think either one of them are going to be averaging 15 minutes a game, but I do think that they'll be combined together 20 minutes a game. Who knows who gets 12 minutes, who gets 8 minutes, who gets 16, who gets 5.
Now, Jace Carter's numbers aren't necessarily splashy, but over the last 5 games, I'm looking at it, 12 points, 5 points, 7 points, 3 points, 13 points. But in the games that he hasn't scored a lot, he's either gotten you 12 boards, 6 boards. Like, he's contributing in different ways. He's starting to find his way with this team.
Absolutely. And before the season even started, I think the comparison to Dexter Dennis was always there. And I mentioned he's not as good as a defender, because Dexter could go and shut down the other team's best player on any given night. Jace isn't going to do that, but he is a better rebounder than Dexter. And I don't think that he's proven that the entire year. But like you said, he's coming into his own. He's finding a rhythm and a role on this team. I think it's taken, obviously, way too long for him to do that, but at least he's doing it now. And I still think that he'll win a game for A&M at some point. There's still, 12 games left probably?
They've played 9.
Well, I'm saying with tournament, and you keep playing, you keep winning, you keep playing. Let's say there's 12 games left. I mean, he's got a chance to win one of those games because of his performance. I think Wildens Levesque against Kentucky, he showed that performance, and A&M wouldn't have won without Levesque's performance on the offensive glass and a couple of big blocks that he had against Kentucky. So he showed up. Jace Carter, I think, will show up and win a game. I still think there's a chance that Eli Lawrence has a
game in him.
Yep. And I'm not talking about he's going to be the best player on the court, but I'm talking about
one of those that we remember.
His performance is going to catapult A&M to a win.
Yep.
And so I still think they have it in, and Jace is probably more refined to do that right now.
Yep.
He just looks more comfortable, and I still hold to it. Every time he shoots the ball, it looks good.
It does look good.
I feel like it's going in. It doesn't go in often, but I feel like it should go in more often than what it is just on looks alone.
Before we go, it feels better to win a couple games.
Yep.
You got a big one coming up with Tennessee. Regardless, though, eyeball test, wins or losses, they are playing a better Aggie brand of basketball, correct?
Without question. They're playing their style of game, and I think we can tell just on the feel alone.
Yep.
When I'm watching the game, I feel like they're in control. I feel like it is their style, and I mean, against Missouri, I didn't have any doubt at any point in the game because I felt like they controlled it.
Yep.
And that's how it is. That's how A&M basketball needs to be.
Thank you, Logan. Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate you. Coming back on TexAgs, we'll have Brian Kortan in studio talking a little Aggie men's golf. Right now, we're talking Brazos Running Company in Century Square, locally Aggie owned and operated, a specialty running store with the best brands out there. If you're looking for shoes like Brooks or On or Hoka, that's the place you go. If you're having problems when you're running, you got some pain, maybe you got to get yourself some new shoes. They're supposed to last 400 miles, right, roughly? Well, go there and have them help you. They'll check out your gait. They'll put you on the treadmill. They won't make you run hard, trust me. And they'll take a look at what you're doing to try to get you into the right shoe. If you're a heel striker or a toe striker, they'll find the right one that works for you. If you're interested in fitness or anything, the right shoe does make all the difference out there. And Brazos Running Company, are passionate about getting you the right shoe. They got other brands there as well, Birkenstock, and they got Viore out there. It is the place to go for your fitness needs. Brazos Running Company, located in Century Square below the Star Cinema Grill in College Station, is the Brazos Running Company. I'm not going to put him on the spot, but Brian Kortan would be a great talk show host. That's all I got to say. He's here in studio. How are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. Let's talk about the early part of the spring and how are you feeling about things?
You know, we're getting going. I mean, winter takes a lot out of you. We had a good trip. Fortunate to take the guys to Spain. We went to Spain for 8 days in the middle of January before school started. Great experience for the guys. Team building, golf, cultural experience. I mean, it was a cool trip. So,
what part of Spain were you in?
We're south. I'm gonna say it wrong, but we flew into Malaga.
Malaga.
Yeah, and we were down there and saw some really cool things. Picasso Museum. I mean, holy cow!
Cool.
Can you imagine the amount of money that's just hanging on the wall in that place?
Heck yeah!
It was just so impressive, and the whole area was just cool. The topography and the history over in Ronda, and it was cool. It was a great experience, and we got became closer as a bunch. And not that we weren't closer already, but to experience that together was pretty cool.
Those kind of trips allow for like just experiencing something together that they're not used to seeing, and also just guys being guys, having fun, plane ride, the bus rides. It's probably cool for you to watch it happen.
Yeah, it's really nice to see how they bond and how they rely on each other, and in a setting that they're comfortable in. I mean, there's no parents, there's just coach and my wife went and our staff went. So it was good to have them there and see other things, because we play a lot of golf, and I don't want to put blinders on them. I want them to be able to experience other things other than going to these great golf tournaments we go to, and to be able to do that every once in a while it's just kind of a little bit of icing on the cake in terms of how we get to experience each other as well.
When everything is about the golf, it can become a mental grind, right? Like that's why you have to break it up a tad bit.
It becomes, I don't want to call it a grind, because they want to be this. This is what they want to do. This is what they signed up for, right?
Sure.
So grind's a tough word, but what it does is it can get you pretty one-tracked. I mean, you can kind of get tunnel vision, and when you get tunnel vision, you kind of lose sight of some other important things. So we try to make sure that they keep their eyes open and don't miss some things that are pretty cool along the way.
How'd you feel about the performance at the Arizona National Invitational?
It was I always want to go there and play great and start the year playing great, and some years we have. Going into that, I knew with the weather we'd kind of been battling and stuff before we left that it was going to be. I thought we'd get better every day, and we did. And the last day we were great. And I think that last day was a really good round. The second round was okay. I think we're a team that can live in there pretty comfortably the rest of the year. We got good leadership. Danny Rodriguez was great. Other guys kind of ham and egged it a little bit. We've got some growth going on within some of our guys on the team, which is important. But yeah, I think we're in a good space moving forward. We gained a little bit of momentum there. Had a really nice week here, week and a half at home. Weather's been pretty good, and they're looking forward to getting on the plane Saturday to head to Hawaii.
Oh, nice. TD sent me a note on Danny. Top 5 his last 2 times out. Top 10's his last 3. Just playing at a really nice level.
Yeah, he's kind of turned the page and become more focused. And he's always had just a tremendous competitive edge to him, and he relies on that a lot. But he's also really honed his skills and become really comfortable being a guy that competes at the top of the leaderboards every week.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the Omni La Costa. Apparently that's for the new venue this year.
The new venue, yeah. I haven't been, so I haven't seen it. I've seen pictures. I think they're actually trying to make it. I think they'd like to have it kind of our steal from the baseball term, our Omaha. So like that would be our place. So it would be our national championship every year. If the golf course turns out to be what they hope it's going to be, and the challenge and be able to handle both playing the women's side and the men's side and make it the kind of the competition they're looking for, I think there's a good chance. But we'll see. It's new. It's California. You never know what's going to go on over there. But in general, I think their heart's in the right place and their efforts and energy have been put in the right place to put their best foot forward to make sure it's a great national championship this first year, and hopefully that parlays into some other great things.
I know we already spoke about the bonding that happened in Spain, but I'm just looking at the life experiences here. You've got Hawaii coming up next week. You've got Cali. You've got Spain. Like, do these young men kind of recognize how cool of an honor it is to not only play for this great university, but to be going to these places and playing at these awesome courses?
I think when they take a step back and take a deep breath once in a while, they understand that they've played themselves in a position to do these things, and that they need to enjoy them because they don't last forever. Yesterday, Chandler Phillips played with us over at Miramont, and so he's a really good example of what it takes to be great, but also he'd be the first one to tell you that he misses those free meals.
Yeah.
He misses those big dinners, those times with the guys, and the practice rounds of hanging out and getting to go the places we go. So he'd be the first one to tell you. Sammy would tell you the same thing. A lot of those guys that have been through those travel experiences would echo what they're saying as far as the experience and playing the golf courses and just hanging out with the guys on a in a casual kind of cool place, so to speak.
Talk to me about Chandler. How's he doing?
Chandler's doing great. I mean, his first year as a PGA Tour member, so he's getting to make his own schedule this year, and he'll earn his way into maybe some other bigger events. But man, tough to get the smile off his face, which is great to see.
And Sam?
Sam's full Corn Ferry stuff. He's really got off to a nice start. He missed the first event, played the second one, and had a chance to win. Doing a great job. He's in Columbia this week, along with Walker Lee, who's also on the Corn Ferry Tour as well. So we've got some good representation of our young guys that have left the program the last few years. So they're great Aggies, and they're looking forward to the challenges that they've got ahead of them.
Let's close out with Hawaii. What do you want to see from the John Burns Invitational, and when do you guys head out?
We leave Saturday. We're there for a week.
Okay.
We go to Kauai. I would tell you where we're playing, but I cannot pronounce it. Starts with an H. It's got a lot of ocean around it. It's pretty cool. So no, I want us to get off to a better start and get comfortable faster, and then push our way through some rounds. You're going to play in some wind, probably get a little rain, but it's still going to be Hawaii. It's going to be pretty awesome still. But it's just the nature of being in the tropics. So I want them to get off to a better start and sustain themselves a little better, and maybe get their best foot forward a little earlier in the tournament.
Feel good about where you are right now, though?
Yeah, I like my guys. We've got a great room. We will continue to get better, which is important. It's been a big adjustment coming off of one of the best, maybe the best player in program history in Sam Bennett, and and then Willie Pacey was there too, and those guys were in the lineup every week, very reliable and sometimes unbelievably great. So it's been a little adjustment to some of our guys to kind of understand that, hey, Sammy's not bailing us out of this one. So they're fighting and they're working hard, and they're getting better, which is great to see. As
a mentor and as a coach, it's probably exciting too, right? Like, this is what you signed up for, to build a team and a program and to make players better.
Oh, exactly. I mean, we're trying to make players better. We're trying to help them understand what it takes to get better. The givens are the education and helping them become quality people. But beyond that, the putting the work in together and seeing how they improve and how they adapt to the things that are being thrown at them. It's fun to see. It's good to have new faces doing it. Turnover's great, and these guys they're making the right steps and working hard to get better.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you.
Always enjoy.
Yep, we'll get you when you come back. Right now, caller number 1, we'll give you a free car wash right now from Aggie Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch and Greens Prairie Road. They're Aggie owner and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership, but we'll give the first caller right now a free car wash from Aggie Express, 979-693-1150. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been
a month or more. I don't know. I've been here since
Have
Christmas.
you been here in 24?
I don't think so, to be honest with you.
It is the Fan Show, brought to you by Gerrod Construction. Custom home builders
For the Brazos Valley. We're good people.
You don't just build homes?
We build relationships.
He's Kelly Adams. He's Matt Browning. I see Matt Browning all the time, although I didn't see you last week, right?
I mean, it's
No,
been 2
last
weeks
week
since
we
I've
were
been
both
here.
out. It's crazy talk.
It's been 2 weeks since
I
I've
want
been
that
here.
top. I want it a little more fitted for me, but I want that top.
Yeah,
I needed a little less fitted.
I like that. Gentlemen, how have we been?
Good.
Good morning.
Very good.
Yeah?
Excited to watch the basketball team win a blowout.
Well, I'm going to allow Callie Gardner to ask the question. I've changed up the way we start the first question of the day. Callie, do you remember what they asked these young men?
Of course I do.
There she is.
Well, first of all, how are y'all today?
Good. How are
Doing well.
you?
I
Doing
am
well.
fantastic. Happy to be here and coming off a great day in Aggieland yesterday. What's on your mind this morning? Talk to us about how we're feeling.
Mr. Adams, you haven't spoken in months, years perhaps. I'll let you start.
I'm happy to see a blowout win for the basketball team. They needed one. Taylor and Radford and some of those guys are playing a ton of minutes, and it's going to wear on them, and we need them out there on the floor. But to finish the game last night with Lawrence and some of the other guys basically the stars were not on the court last night at the end of the game, and that's probably one of the more important feats. We've played so many close games, and there's been so much pressure and so much stress, and every possession matters that, last night was comfortable. It's nice to have a comfortable win. Shows they're taking a step forward.
Well, let me add to that real quick before you go, Matt. People got mad in every game that, when it could have been a blowout and it gets close. In basketball, you were a coach, every game gets close eventually, it feels like. There's very few 20-point leads that last for the entire game.
Yeah, it's hard to blow somebody out unless you are just way, way better than them. I'm not sure that we're way, way better than Missouri. We played well last night. We executed. I've got some issues with the way we play, but I think they're doing exactly what Buzz wants them to do. And as long as we're knocking shots down, we're going to be okay.
Mr. Browning?
Well, we finally got what we've been asking for. Batman needed his Robin.
Yes.
And about time.
Who's the Batman, though?
That's an excellent
Wade's
question.
Batman. Come on.
Depends on the day.
Wade's always going to be Batman.
But when Boots is Batman?
When Boots steps up and plays, which we haven't, I know he's been injured, and since and this team hadn't been the same since he got sick early in the year, and whatever the issue was. Right. But to see him come out, this is the team we were expecting to see, the team that was going to come out and beat these teams that the lesser teams like Missouri, in a way that seems low stress by the time it's all over, right?
Yeah.
Not one of these back and forth, both of these last two games have been that way. And it's because Boots has played well and Wade's not having to do everything, and then you always have a third guy like Jace did last night, came in, added some good minutes and good points, and we needed that. And so this is what we've been waiting on to see, because every year, I loved what Logan said last segment. He said, we could win every game we have left on our schedule, or we could lose every game left on our schedule.
I agree.
You just never know what you're going to get. But with Buzz's track record is we go on runs.
Yep.
And this looks like one of Buzz's runs. So let's hope this keeps going. And but I was thrilled to watch that team play like we've been wanting to see them play. And I feel like that was a fun game to watch last night. But
I believe that they can go on a run.
Mm-hmm.
I also believe that their schedule may not allow them to go on the kind of run that I want them to go on, but they don't need to.
Hey, if we split with Tennessee, guys,
I'll split with Tennessee. I'll take that right now.
That's a win. That's a win for every team in the country.
But if you take care of the games, you have to, right? And I showed the schedule earlier of the games they have to win, and there's 4.
Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, yep.
If you win those games
last time,
and I don't know if Ole Miss is gonna be hard on the road. That's a good team.
And that's a nice stadium. They play well at home. But we should have beat them last time.
But you win the games you have to, and then you figure out one or two that, like South Carolina. I think you should beat South Carolina. They're a top 15 team. I think you should beat them. But that's not a guarantee. You take some of those, one or two of those games. Now we're talking about an 11-win team that is safely in the tournament.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to be frustrated by at the end of the year is that Arkansas game at Arkansas and that Ole Miss game at home. We were the better team. But there's a maturity, there's a consistency of executing every time. Like you have to come down the floor and execute 95 to 100% of your possessions.
Yeah.
And in those games we didn't, and we lost by a point. Last night we did, and we beat them by almost 20. That's the difference.
No, you play like that, you're going to do well. But what's on my mind?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, sir.
No, I jumped into basketball, but is obviously yesterday
signing day.
Finishing up that recruiting class was a strong way to do it. You know, you get the top player on our board to in the house, and I mean, and I know LSU and Georgia and Texas and everybody else made a strong push at him, but for Elko to come in, you know, behind the 8 ball to start, because again, you know, I mean, these other schools have been. I mean, he did have the advantage of him already being committed, but I mean, you have to rebuild that relationship and get the kid to come in, feel comfortable with an entirely new recruiting or coaching staff, and to have this kid come in who could. I mean, he could play 5 positions on this team. I mean, he's ridiculous. I mean, he's you know, he could be the Anais, the next Anais, or you know, I mean, he could play multiple positions, which is crazy. But he was a must get.
When you think about what the roster looks like now, and everything is theoretical, right? Because you don't know how pieces are going to fit. But I feel good, guys. And I felt good before, but I feel good, and maybe I feel better because the change in direction, the change in leadership. To me, I'm all in on what I've heard and seen from Elko. Had they hired Stoops, it would have been a different vibe, and it may still worked out, but it would have been a different vibe. But so far, everything that Elko has said and the way he's done the roster management, everything seems to fit for what I think should be a championship culture and roster.
And the way he hasn't stopped working.
Yeah,
that's what we, you know, we see it. I mean, you can see it. I mean, he has just been. I mean, I don't know if he's slept at all, you know, and so him coming
teams
in
take on the personality of their coaches.
Yes,
I believe that strongly.
Yeah,
and if this team takes on the work ethic and the intensity of Mike Elko, things are looking up.
Imagine a scenario where we don't worry about dumb false starts or, you know, giving up big plays or predicting the offensive play that's about to happen every time. Like that's look, it sounds like a shot, and maybe it is a shot, but to do it effectively, to run, to be able to block again, because I think they've got the guys to do it.
Yeah, that is a good recruiting class for a completely new, thrown together coaching staff
in the NIL world.
Period. Yeah, in a 2-month period. That's an excellent coaching. That's an excellent recruit. That's better than Jimbo's first season, or you know, when he came in and he had that short amount of time. Looks better than that. So let's see what happens when you give him a full year.
And you add the transfer class on top of that.
Well, I was going to say, from that class alone, Ashton Bethel Roman, not enough has been said about him. And this is a guy that I remember that when he was thinking about leaving Arkansas, like all the ears perked up, right? You look at his tape, you look at what he brings to the table, you look at the kind of schools that wanted him.
Yeah, his list was pretty impressive,
and his family pedigree too, right? Like mom could have gone to the Olympics. I think Brody said yesterday. Dad obviously played in the NFL for a while. Like the pedigree, and his speed, the way he plays. Like let's get another one.
And he comes from a strong program with good coaches. Like, you know, he's going to show up and he's been disciplined. He's been taught. He's received the fundamentals. He understands what needs to happen to be successful at the game of football.
Well, my thing too, guys, is, and I probably spend too much time on this, but I just want good guys that play well, right? Both, right?
Yeah.
You can't be bad, right? But I want good guys that play well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it is. It really is. You want the kind of guys that are going to buy into the system. That are going to like you said, take on the coach's identity, work hard. You know, put in the time, the hours, everything else, and you know, when you have a team full of prima donnas. I'm not saying we've had that. I'm not saying that. I don't know what went on. I don't know what went on in that locker room.
Every team has a few.
Yeah, I'm sure every team has a few, but I mean, that's kind of what we're hoping for. These are the changes we wanted to see, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's why most people are fairly pleased with Elko and the job he's done.
Let's hit a break here. We'll come back with more. I want to talk Anderson Garcia with you guys because he's a guy I can talk about every segment because I like the way he plays basketball. That's the bottom line. But I think he's perfect for fan show type of talk because
that and he speaks Spanish with you.
Oh, vamos a hablar aquí.
Nah, see?
I mean, you can speak Spanish. Both of you guys can. A little bit. Maybe it's because the business you're in. If your organization or business is looking for an opportunity to engage with other Aggies, then check out the Association of Former Students. They bring Aggies of all ages together during events held throughout the year. Marquee events such as Aggie Ring Day, All Aggie Hullabaloo, and The Gathering welcome tens of thousands of guests, and there are many sponsorship and vendor opportunities when you reach out to the association of your former students to get your brand in front of great attendees that offer a wide variety of both digital and in-person options to promote your brand. Options include title, sponsorship, naming, on-site presence and activation, recognition and social media posts, and much, much more. There's also advertising opportunities in both the Texas Aggie Magazine and the Aggie News newsletter, which are seen by over 230,000 people. So if your business is ready to engage with Aggies, choose a partner with the organization that's been supporting the Aggie Network for over 140 years. For more information on options available through the association, please email sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Hey, I'm on the camera. I didn't even look. It's time to end the day with Double Dave's. Caller number 12-979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been serving Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. It is the Fan Show, brought to you by Gerrod Construction, Kelly Adams, Matt Browning. You wanted something basketball to get into, you said?
I have something. One of the things I noted... the way we play offense. First of all, everybody in the world that pays attention knows that Boots is better going left and Taylor's better going right. And if you'll notice, almost every play we run on offense is the opposite. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if that's the coordinator calling it or if that's the defense trying to force it, because I would do that if I was them. But what you'll notice in the last couple of games when we started our winning streak is Boots is finishing on the right side of the rim just as good as he has previously on the left side of the rim. Last year was all left. Beginning of the year was all left. Boots has obviously worked on his game. Taylor has obviously worked on his game because we're sending them where they're not comfortable, whether that's by design or by force. And we're playing better now because they're doing what they're not comfortable doing. Like, they put some work in. Boots had a lot of great shots that he finished on the right side of the rim yesterday. And it's been a while since he's done that consistently. Wade is starting to finish a little more on the left side of the rim. And it's changed our offense, and it's changed our win and loss column.
When Boots is playing well, it is fun to watch.
Yeah,
I love his style of basketball.
Did you like the 360 he did in the lane last night and missed? Yeah. I was impressed by the shot.
Chris Cobb, a loyal listener on the YouTube page, says, guys, Missouri sucks. They aren't good. That's why they're 0-10 in the league. Yes, but what I was more impressed with.
What was the score when we played them at home?
But I'm more about the eyeball test. How are they playing basketball?
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, and again,
I
it's back-to-back wins, and we're looking better. And we're getting what we've been asking for. What have we been asking for the last month?
Less threes, attacking the rim.
Yeah, just some help for Wade on offense. It can't all go through him. Everyone gripes about some of the shots he takes. He has to take some of these shots because no one else is making them.
He does take some bad shots.
He does, but again, when you're forced to do it, when no one else is helping you.
In his press conference one time, I guess 3 weeks ago now, Buzz literally said in his press conference, yeah, we know he takes bad shots. But if he doesn't take those bad shots, how do we get offensive rebounds? How do we score offensive rebounds?
But your alpha offensive players, two guards many times, take bad shots because they can, because they make a lot of them. And some of those that he misses, he makes. And like
Steph Curry takes bad shots too.
Steph Curry's great. But the ability to, when the game is on the line, Wade wants the ball in his hands.
Yep. That's what we want. So Anderson Garcia, love
Fan
that
favorite,
guy.
right?
Oh, I love him. He and Solo, the way that they both play.
Oh, Solo's another one. If Solo and Taylor would foul less, we'd be even more successful.
So
they just foul too much.
But I mean, just the way Garcia is it's like he's everywhere. It's like he's 6 inches taller than what he is, the way he plays.
Yeah.
When he made that diving play, rolled over. Well, he didn't roll over because I'd be traveling. But he made the pass out to the wing, popped up, and got the ball back. He was on the ground and off the ground before anybody else thought about getting on the ground.
I see a scenario in about 10 years where Logan Lee decides to retire from doing basketball analysis, and then Anderson Garcia and I start doing a show.
In Spanish?
Right? It'll be Spanglish.
Spanglish,
it'll be a little bit of both. I can see that because that's he's that kind of fan favorite.
Yeah.
He's like Draymond Green without the personality.
Like, hey, who's your favorite NBA player?
Draymond Green right now, or of all time, Charles Barkley.
Oh, I thought it was going to be Nahara.
Eddie's in the mix. I love Eddie.
I never referred to him as Eddie before.
I'm in Circle of Trust. That's my guy.
I got you.
Circle of Trust.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, he's a Dallas Maverick. I don't talk about
that. No, the way and then Solo too, you got to give Solo credit. Solo brings that fire, that energy off the bench too, that he's just so, I think every team needs a guy like that. The guy that's that emotional out there. And I don't feel like he doesn't, when I say he gets emotional, I don't feel like he gets emotional on the angry side. He gets so fired
into the
up.
game.
He gets it. I mean, just let's go. And he's the first guy up, standing up, cheering for the guys. So those two guys, both of them have similar styles. Anderson's far more accomplished thus far, but still, I like them both.
Gentlemen, thank you. Hey, will you tell the folks at Gerrod Construction thank you?
I will. They're nice people out there.
All right, guys, that'll do it for the show. We'll see you mañana. I don't know what's on it. It's good.